Hello, 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 hello. Yep, I think we're on now.
We're on.
Guy's on his phone. Yeah.
Oh, but it's a few different ones.
Okay, all set? Good evening. The Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Trustee Monahan.
Here.
Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Clerk Vorba here. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Heising.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance tonight. How about grace modes from Commissioner Terry Marecki's office? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job. Okay, I need approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorba, seconded by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, item D is approval of the consent agenda. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Okay,
Ready?
yeah.
Oh, on the vacation of the water main easement at the town plaza here, or town center, what will you be doing with the existing line? Will it be removed?
So part of the existing line was removed as a part of the building construction, but usually what happens is you remove a portion of it, you cap it, flowable, fill it, and leave it in place. I'll have to look at the IDRs, but I think the majority of it got removed in this case because that's where the building was going.
So there's not a policy to remove the line?
No.
All right. Next question is the budget amendments. Well, the court is 231,000. Is that our shortfall or is that all three?
That's ours,
Just ours?
our share, yeah.
This is a record.
Yes, it is.
And when does that have to be paid?
In 4 quarters, we've paid 2 of them, or 2 of them.
Two of them.
And is the third item, which doesn't say what it's for in the water and sewer fund, it looks like it's that consultant for the
Yeah.
meters.
Yeah, this is housekeeping. We should have done this when we approved it, done the budget amendment. So this is just some cleanup.
Okay, that's it.
So Bob, I know you're on the finance committee now for the court, so that's a hefty share for us. So what's Canton's share look like, if you remember?
Not off the top of my head.
I would hope it's more.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda?
Yeah, one thing
Yeah.
quickly, just a typo on the depositories on item, this one here, it says 2024, it should say 2023.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, duly noted. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023.
Okay, motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. Please take the roll on this one.
Okay, then. Supervisor Heising.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Yes.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, part of our consent agenda tonight was some correspondence from former Plymouth Township trustee Jack Dempsey, recognizing the loss of former trustee Casey Mueller. She passed away back on June 18th. And I've not personally had a lot of contact with former trustee Mueller, but I know Jerry has, and I'm sure Chuck has as well. But Jerry, do you want to sort of summarize?
Sure. A long time Plymouth resident, someone who was always kind of a cheerleader for the Plymouth community. A real estate person, broker. I did many real estate deals with her. She did that for over 40 years and was very good at her job. And then in '92, I helped her and a few other people run for run for office here in the township when I was running for state rep. So it was a real pleasure to know her, a really kind and generous person, and just really genuinely nice, and did a lot of good for the township, and she'll be sorely missed, I know.
Okay, I see here in Jack's correspondence that she ran for Board of Trustees in 1992 and won re-election unopposed in 1996 and served until November of 2000. Okay, can I just entertain a brief moment of silence in her memory?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, next is public comment, limited to 3 minutes. I have my timer ready, so whoever would like to go first, feel free.
The mic on? Everybody hear me? My name is Dale Bernhardt. I'm against the gambling facility. All here received my two-page handout showing the Facebook post by Mr. Heisey and Mr. Vorval. For all watching on video and TV, Mr. Heisey's posts talk about Plymouth full of drunk zombies staggering down from the horse track. Mr. Vorval posts that alcohol was flowing in Plymouth like he's never seen, and no question many folks were driving through Plymouth Township after consuming. And oh my goodness, the gambling. And the hordes are going to gather at the next commission meeting and complain about the unsafe conditions. So these posts are either to make fun of the gambling facility opposition, which is us, or they have no issue with drunk zombies. So which one is it? Neither shows any maturity. But these posts did hit a nerve with me. In May of 1984, my friends were driving north on Sheldon Road, came to the intersection of Ann Arbor Trail, were broadsided by a drunk 8 o'clock in the evening. He had just come out of a bar, and he killed Rick and Cindy and killed her baby boy. She was 9 months pregnant, she was due in 5 days. 2 days later, her friend Josephine, who was also 9 months, lost her baby due to the tragic accident. My wife then had to go in for an emergency C-section 2 days later to save my son, all because of this accident. Mr. Vorva, you may remember that as he walked out, because he was a police officer during that in 1984. So that drunk killed 4 people and forever changed the lives of hundreds. So yes, we are justifiably concerned about addicted drunks and gamblers who you support and will be on our streets every day from your gambling facility. Our community realizes the consequences of your bad decisions. We see the truth. You only see dollar signs and campaign contributions like Mr. Heisey has received from Northville Downs. This pet project of Mr. Heisey's only produces addicts, nothing more. So how many drunk drivers are enough? How many gambling addicts are enough? When it hits your families? So we will continue to show up here with facts and logic, and you'll continue to dismiss us. But the people now realize that with Mr. Heisey, Mr. Vorva, there is no people are priority, and there is no health, safety, and welfare for us. Nice slogans they point to, but they don't carry out. The Bible says, don't give the devil any foothold. Do we want to sponsor addictions that are footholds by allowing this gambling house to be built? I urge the board to throw this destructive proposal out right now, or at least vote no at vote time.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have something to say. Hey, Dale, would you please come up here? And I want you to pass this picture around. And I'm going to tell everybody what this picture is. The accident that he talked about didn't happen at 8 o'clock. It happened later at night. I was there. I was the first officer on scene. The husband was pulled from the car because the truck the person was driving had a rack on the front of his truck for a snowplow, and it hit him in the head and jerked him right out of the car and pulled his wife out too. When I got there, he was dead on the scene. His wife, I thought, was still breathing. She wasn't breathing. It was the baby turning over in her stomach. It was one of the most terrible things I'd ever seen in my whole life. I arrested that person for drunk driving, and I arrested a lot of people for drunk driving. And I'm offended that you would think that I would think that something like that's okay. I was there personally and watched it. I begged the people who were there taking care of her, trying to revive her. I said, take the baby. The baby's going to die. And you know what? The baby did die.
And so did Josephine's baby, and my baby almost.
And so I do understand, being a law enforcement officer, what happens with drug addiction, what happens with alcohol abuse. I understand that.
Then why are you trying to propose?
I'm not proposing anything.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I'm not gonna argue with,
Okay.
I've got the floor right now. We're not proposing anything. They came to us and asked for the proper hearings, and they're getting that. And it's still going on. There's been no decision. There's nothing to vote on right now for us to vote on, because there's still negotiations going on. But I want you to pass this around to everybody to see. I'm sitting there holding the flashlight as they're trying to revive her. She died, the husband died, the baby died, and I arrested the drunk driver.
Thank you for doing that. But
Pass that,
you know how tragic it was.
That's right.
And we don't want that to happen again.
And my satire in this was that I understand your fears. Don't think that all of us don't understand your fears, but the fears are unfounded. There are more court cases coming from Northville area than there are in Plymouth.
Okay, all right,
So I want to tell you, we have
All right,
taken
both
all
of you.
the, please
All
pass that around.
all right. We're
Pass that
talking
around.
about things, we're debating things that are not on the agenda, so, okay. Anybody else?
Want to see this? Can't see much. Yes. I guess we'll go this way.
Anna Steele. In light of the Elks Club being demolished this week, I just had a few questions.
Well, you didn't want to look at it, Mr. Pine? Ms. Pine, you didn't want to look at it? Yeah.
Wow, Jim.
All right,
It is shameful.
all right. Ms. Steele, please continue.
It's okay. The whole thing was rather disruptive, and we're never allowed to do that back and forth. But I guess
Well,
if you're
I
on the
broke it
board,
up,
you're
so-
allowed to, and it's really not okay.
Okay.
So a few simple questions regarding the new development. Has a final permit been submitted to Wayne County to open the private spine road of the development to General Drive as an all-access road, and has it been approved?
Jeremy, is that your ball?
Well, I think, can we go through the questions first so that, Jeremy is prepared to answer them?
Sure.
So your first question's about the permits for the spine road.
Yep. Follow-up to that would be, if so, when and where can it be seen by the public? Second, is said road being opened from Ann Arbor Road to General Drive being made a condition of approval by this board for the development of this project?
Okay. Is that it?
I'll wait for the
Oh,
response
okay.
to the questions.
The Spine Road connection to General Drive has been approved in principle by the county. There are a few stipulations that need to be fulfilled before I think the official permit is issued, but I know soil erosion's been issued, and I know they've essentially given us the go-ahead. I actually have an email from today, just the county asking the other county departments when the approval letter is going to be formally drafted, so it sounds like that's in its works.
They said that they're going to produce a letter, the county?
Yeah, what it is, it's a stormwater permit and a right-of-way permit. So they've already issued the soil erosion permit and the right-of-way. Now it's just the stormwater permit. That final review involved the Spine Road connection to General Drive. So those are the things they've been working through for the last few months. And that's now reached its conclusion from what I understand.
So according to Wayne County, to their permit manual, to the Department of Engineers, to the supervisor of the engineering department, that road does not meet the requirements of a Wayne County road. So I would like to see what those stipulations are, because according to everyone I've spoken to there, including the people from Toll Brothers and from Pomeroy Living, it doesn't meet those items.
Well, I think a big part of that was the fact that that road would have tied into a gravel road. But as a part of the development, the PUD agreement includes the developer paying for the full restoration of those roads to pave standards, to pave Wayne County standards. Once they reach those Wayne County standards, that road connection can happen. That's been the stipulation all along since the very, very beginning of the PUD, was the reconstruction of those streets. I think
In
those
Wayne
residents
County?
have been trying for a few years for an SAD because a lot of them have flooding issues, et cetera. This is going to address all those and bring them up to Wayne County standards, which will allow the Spine Road connection.
So does that mean the roads must be paved before you get the permit?
No, it just means that they have to be paved as a final stipulation. So it's essentially like a conditional approval. We conditionally approve this connection, assuming you're going to construct those roads. If, for example, we didn't construct them, we didn't build them, then yeah, you would have to put up some sort of barrier like you would on any other subdivision that has a phase 2 or, some future phase.
So Plymouth Township is spending engineering money now for those roads.
So Plymouth Township is not technically spending engineering money because the engineering money is actually coming from the agreement. That was part of the agreement, was to pay for design, construction, and the oversight to get all the way through Wayne County standards.
But we're passing, the engineering costs are being currently billed monthly and they're being passed to Toll Brothers? Or are we absorbing them for now and we'll bill later?
So we have just started design, so I don't even think we've built anything yet. But theoretically, as soon as the agreement is signed, there is a check that's written and provided to the township directly for engineering, and then it's a 5-year cycle after that for payback.
5 years.
Yep. Yeah, that was it's the same deal as you'd get through an SAD.
Okay. All set?
So, no,
go ahead.
you didn't answer the second part of the question. When will that be available to be seen by the public?
What are you looking for? Just the plan of what it looks like?
I want to see the permit that was submitted and the stipulations on it.
Okay. I think that's in our files now, so you can probably stop by the township hall and look at it.
Great.
Who would they see?
I would email Jeremy.
Yeah, you can email me and I can get you what we have. I don't know what you're looking for. There's quite a few correspondents, so it's not
Yeah,
necessary.
I know, I was considering a FOIA and I decided against it because of the excessive amount of conversations that have gone back and forth.
Okay.
The last question to get answered, is this road a condition?
Pardon me?
Is this road being open to General Drive a condition of this project being approved?
It's in the PUD that the developer is going to pave the neighborhood to the north, which has been
That's
which has
been a
been
stipulation.
a muddy dirt road area for many, many years, and the residents have been greatly inconvenienced. And I think that those residents deserve the same kind of quality of life as the rest of us do.
Of course they do. That, you didn't answer the question, though. So
It's
it
part of
was
the
made a
PUD.
contingency
It's part
of
of the
approval
PUD.
of that project.
It's part of the PUD.
So yes, it was.
You can get it from, you can
So
get it from
for
Jeremy.
the general
It's what they've
public,
agreed to. It's what the
I would be
developers have
happy-
agreed to.
okay, I'll let you finish. Are you done?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So for the general public, quite factually, Scott Hansen, who I know Jeremy knows very well, Nick from Pomeroy, and Alex from Toll Brothers, all said that they would not have that road open as an all-access road if it wasn't made contingent by this township board.
Okay.
So the people in that area, yes, do want it paved, absolutely. It was not a requirement of the fire department. It was being made a
We've been
requirement.
over this many, many times, and you know that. So
It was
these
being-
questions have been asked and answered. Just
You
read
are
the PUD.
so,
Read the PUD.
you are so rude to
I've
speak
asked-
over
I've answered your
everyone.
questions before.
I said, when I started my last sentence, that it was for the general public to know that it was this township's decision. The fire department did not require it being open 24/7. Toll Brothers did not want it open 24/7, and neither did Pomeroy Living. They came out, they told the community, they stood in our yards and said, no, that's not going to be open. We promise you, and here's how it's going to look.
Okay.
So taking the traffic off of Ann Arbor Road and funneling it through a subdivision out to Ann Arbor Trail is not what people want. They do
Okay.
want it paved.
Thank you very much.
Hello, again. My name is Joyce Janicki, and over the past few weeks, I've become very curious about the role the state of Michigan and Lansing politics may be playing regarding the racetrack move. The Michigan horse racing law of 1995 very clearly states that it is the policy of our state to promote the positive growth and development of horse racing and to encourage the breeding of horses to participate in that racing. I understand this is stating that Michigan legislators are mandated, that is required, to preserve horse racing. I also understand that legislators have created a special fund to aid the horse racing industry, with this fund reaching over $6 million in 2022. To repeat, and I know I'm being redundant, but this is very important to me. To repeat, legislators are mandated by law to support horse racing and to fund the various aspects of the horse racing industry. Lansing legislators will renege on their promise to promote horse racing, and the horse racing industry will lose millions of dollars if Northville Downs is unable to move to a new site in the very near future. Because of these mandates and the millions involved, one is left to wonder about the following. Number one, those 4 recently introduced Michigan Senate bills, which will benefit Northville Downs and the entire horse racing industry here in Michigan. Is there any pressure from Lansing on this board of trustees to vote in favor of the racetrack in order to avoid losing Michigan's only racetrack and the resulting monetary loss? If there is pressure from Lansing to accept this racetrack, is it fair to thrust it so forcefully on your township residents? It appears that there may be more to this track move than what has been told. I strongly urge you as publicly elected board members to be thoroughly transparent regarding all aspects of this controversial proposition, including any possible efforts by Lansing to facilitate this track move. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
And you did it with 4 seconds to spare.
Can I respond?
Well, can we,
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think she brought up some very good points, but I know nobody in Lansing personally.
Oh, I just asked questions.
I'd just like to respond. We talked about this at the last meeting and trying to respond to some of the people that come up and have questions. They want them answered, and I know nobody in Lansing.
okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
Does the police chief have one? Or make sure he gets one.
Thank you.
Two weeks ago at the prior meeting, Clerk Vorba spoke about Northville Township, Northville, and Plymouth, and referenced the 35th District Court having more court cases. In addition, he mentioned that Northville had higher home values, they had a better school system, etc. Some of that just didn't seem believable. So I looked into it under the FBI Uniform Crime Reporting for 2019. I couldn't find 2020. I think the FBI was hiding behind the drapes in their office during that year. And then we also have it for 2021. So I just like to compare Plymouth Township
Really insulting.
and Northville Township. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I thought that comment was very insulting to law
I did
enforcement.
too.
FBI agents who risk their lives every day in defense of this
I
country.
have a family member who's an FBI agent who worked very hard keeping people safe from pedophiles during COVID. And I think that's really offensive, Ron, for you to say something like that.
So, continue.
Can I have my time back?
No, I mean, I'll give you a
All
little
right.
bit more time, but
So Clerk Borver is always interested in facts. So for 2019, all violent crime, Northville was 11% more. For aggravated assault in 2019, Northville was 17% more. For burglary, 48% more. For larceny, theft, 77% more. In 2021,
refer to the city.
all violent crime, Northville, 30% more, 36% more. Aggravated assault, 73% more. Burglary, 92% more. Larceny, 4% more. So those are some facts about Northville Township versus Plymouth Township. Northville Township is higher. Northville Township, are these directly related to the track? No way to prove that. But we don't want higher crime like Northville has. One other point I'd like to make is, I'm sure later this evening we're going to hear about frivolous FOIA requests. And if that does come up, I would like the definition from the supervisor of what frivolous is, because he's mentioned that in the media. Thank you.
Okay.
You can get these stats from the 35th District Court, and they're available for everyone, and they have a longer history than he's talking there.
And
How do we
it's a
get re-up to
township.
FOIA
It's a
then?
township, it's not the city.
No.
They gave them to us.
Oh, these?
No, that's FBI.
Oh, that's FBI.
Northville City or Northville?
Is this Northville
Township?
City or
No,
Northville
it's
Township?
Northville Township.
Oh, well,
That column
track
says
in the
Northville
city?
Township.
tracks in the city,
The tracks in the city.
so, okay.
Hello, my name is Eileen Coleman. I just had a couple things to say, nothing real complicated. I just wondered if you thought that was appropriate communication by leadership.
Yes.
It is appropriate?
Yes.
By leadership.
Yes.
So this is how one leads.
I'm a
in a
citizen-
virtuous
I'm a citizen
manner?
of the United States, and I have a First Amendment right.
In a
There's the answer
virtue,
to your question, and I can say anything I want. When you look at what everybody else says on Facebook, that is very mild.
Is it
I thought it was very
virtuous?
good satire.
no, is it virtuous?
Pardon?
Is it virtuous? Is it full of virtue and goodness and truth?
I don't know what you're
No,
talking about.
it's not, and it's inappropriate.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'm a citizen of the United States, I have a First Amendment right.
It's
Okay, all right,
inappropriate
everybody.
communication, and it's base. And I'll call it for what it is. And the people deserve better than that. They deserve better leadership than that.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
So a few things. I'm opposed to the racetrack gambling proposal. I'm opposed because it's against our master plan. And if you haven't read the master plan, I would suggest all of you, before you vote on it, read through it. It is the guiding principle of development within Plymouth. Make sure that this proposal is consistent with that plan, because it is a binding plan, actually. It's not consistent with current zoning. It is light industrial with MITC. You threw a PUD on and it didn't meet the criteria. You may have voted for it, but the criteria were not met. I'm opposed. And I hope that you look seriously at all of those issues before you vote on this.
Okay, thank you.
Do I need to put what number speaker I have?
No.
Can I be heard? Yes. Mary Pine, 45-year resident. Plymouth Township needs decision makers with trustworthy character, personal integrity, and the ability to execute responsibility professionally, the foundation for municipal government decisions. Transparent and honest communication is key. Fulfilling one basic requirement to inform leaves a huge gap between right and not doing wrong. Residents with great effort have had to spread the word on the racetrack. Residents have had to survey community sentiment, which is opposition to the racetrack. Residents have had to present reasoned arguments, concerns, and investigate for needed due diligence. Residents are paying elected officials to do this. Kurt, you have been communicating with gambling sites instead. As early as January 2023 in PlayMichigan.com, you have advocated on behalf of Northville Downs and horse racing. Your duties as supervisor do not encompass PR for Northville Downs. You also went before the Planning Commission and encouraged them to vote yes on Northville Downs, strangely citing that this is the last remaining track in Michigan. Wrong conclusion. Residents disagree as 4 tracks have closed with debt involved. Motivation, a 2016 Hometown Life indicated that nearly $8,500 of campaign money raised for you, Kurt, came from outside of the township, with Northville Downs, Edward, and Michael Carlo contributing $500 each. A law firm states that township board members must observe their fiduciary duties to the township and public, including the duty of loyalty and duty of care. This is what the residents are asking for. Instead, there are social media comments back and forth with inaccurate accusations, disrespectful, sarcastic comments on serious issues, and boasting. Kurt, you stated, I'm pretty sure Meyer's attorneys know how to appeal the planning committee's decision. If not, I'll send them my bill. Is that honoring or betraying your fiduciary duty? In Northville Downs versus Granholm, Michael Cox, Attorney General, of 9/27/2010, U.S. Circuit Court Judge Merritt states, gambling may be outlawed altogether as a vice that is a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the public, proving a no on the racetrack. Northville Downs lost. Questions. How long was Northville Downs Plymouth in the making, especially with 25 years of lobbying and Senate bills 411 and 14 through 14 for horse racing? Why wasn't at least a survey like the recreational survey mailed to all residents? Is the disregard for the master plan and use of PUD a strategy to assist Northville Downs in their ultimate goals? Has this situation been to ultimately say, oh, we can't have a lawsuit? You must have insurance for bad decision. Cut your losses and use the insurance if necessary. Or is a lawsuit a moot point with Judge Merritt's comments? A new Veterans Commission was formed. Honor and character are required here. A 2019 NIH study states Military veterans have a higher risk of substance abuse, mental health, and suicide, all conditions that are highly associated with problem gambling. Prudence dictates that when you do not know a matter, don't guess and turn to a relevant statesman. Do the research. Duty dictates that there not be a gambling facility in our community. A no vote on the track confirms a sincere desire to assist our country's proud patriots in Plymouth.
Okay, you're going to have to wrap it up, please.
Please apply vision and insight to the racetrack issue and see through the snow job sales pitch. Have the moral courage and strength to do the right thing and vote no for the welfare of our residents.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Bill Pine, 45-year resident. Let's talk about analysis. The last board, Jerry Vorva talked about crime, court cases, gambling, property values, school performance, traffic congestion, and alcohol consumption. His message was that they were all good, supported the proposed gaming and racing property, and were the facts. After thinking about these comments, I had an aha moment. There is actually a broader underlying problem than just whether or not we should have a gaming facility. Only 2 of the folks on the board have big business and classical process definition and analytical practice experience. Accordingly, the board as a whole falls short analytically, time after time, on non-standard issues that come before it. That appears to be a constant factor in the parade of contentious issues in the past, with the 2 contentious issues right now, and more in the future if you don't fix this problem. That also appears to be a problem with the Planning Commission. Not having such experience isn't bad in and of itself if one realizes that limitation. You get qualified help. If you don't know what you don't know, though, or don't care, then you have the parade of problems you've had in the past several years. There's a classic hierarchy in the business analysis world called the knowledge pyramid, or the data, information, knowledge, wisdom pyramid. Data is individual numbers. Information is organized and structured data. Knowledge is meaningful integration and assessment of information. And wisdom is special insight that comes from knowledge. Proper decision-making is done at the knowledge level. The board seems to make many decisions on just partial data and has recurring problems because of this. Jerry's comments indicate why this is a problem. Analyzed correctly, everything except property values and educational performance is a negative to the gaming facility. And those 2 factors can't be analyzed with current data. I can explain later in detail for anyone who's interested. Generalizing, dismissing opinion, personal interest, and nostalgia. From an objective, analytical standpoint, the analysis of the gaming proposal is universally negative or non-existent. This is a major problem for you. And one big reason township residents are increasingly frustrated and upset with the board. Kurt, you've talked about the community resistance to the gaming facility being politically motivated. It isn't. It's performance related. Frustration with the board's performance is cumulative, and you're using up all of your goodwill. A problem defined is a problem half solved. You need root cause analysis and a sound course of corrective action addressing process definition, metrics, and key success factors. If you don't do this, the problems will only get worse, and looming issues like the community benefit analysis of the gaming facility and issues around the Meyer proposal will become even larger points of contention. I'm going to be a little bit of a wise guy, but when I was a kid, my parish priest, who eventually became a pretty famous bishop, told about a joke about a man who had a crippled arm who thought he'd appeal to the Lord. He said, "Lord, please make my arm like the other one." And what we want to say is that setting the model of downtown Plymouth on a Friday night for crime, court cases, gambling, property values, school performance, traffic congestion, and alcohol consumption should not be an aspirational one for Plymouth Township. Please do your analysis properly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon or good evening, whatever you want. Pardon? Oh, this is new. Last time I talked was the first meeting, and I talked about traffic. I live in Plymouth Township for 45 years. Last 25 of them is in Rolling Oak subdivision. On the north side of North Territorial between Beck and Ridge Road. Any of you live over there? Very good. How do you like coming out to go east?
You know what?
How bad is the traffic?
It's part of what happens when cities and townships.
I know, but how bad is the traffic in the morning and afternoon? It's very bad. It's way different than 25 years ago. And there's people live at 50 miles an hour, you driving, and the study you got for traffic didn't even mention North Territorial. And a lot of people gonna be going on North Territorial, not 5 Mile Road. Did you do a study did you redo the study for traffic again?
Don't ask me that.
I'm asking you because you're responsible.
We'll figure it out.
Did you guys do the study again? Or you just take what people tell you? The second thing that amazes me is putting a soccer field in that place. Whose idea is that? That's a genius idea. You know why it's genius? Because it is advertising gambling. And you take teenagers playing soccer over there, where do you think they're gonna go? I coach soccer from under 8 to under 19. I know exactly soccer. I didn't get a penny paid to coach soccer because I cared about the kids. If you like soccer fields, why don't you open 4 fields? Plymouth Township doesn't have a complex of soccer. Livonia has a nice one. We traveled, my team used to travel, the best second team in the state. We traveled all over the country. I never seen a casino next to a soccer field. And you guys are putting a soccer field there? Whose idea is this? Their idea or your idea? I'm dead serious. It makes me upset. I feel for these kids. And you advertising gambling to them? Come on, get serious. You know, horse racing is an old business. It's out of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Dr. Alice Rainville, Plymouth Township resident. I've spoken at several board meetings regarding the racetrack facility. I am opposed to it, as you know. I hope you listen to me. Tonight has revealed Mr. Heisey and Mr. Borba's very rude and unprofessional conduct. Not only has most of the board been repeatedly dismissive of many township residents who are concerned with the gambling facility, but the recent social media post by Mr. Heisey and Clerk Borba have shown their true colors in mocking the residents of Plymouth Township. Why is the township leadership so defensive about the facility, the racetrack facility? And I want to add that the social media comments are both unprofessional and unacceptable behavior from township leaders.
There's Jerry's picture. Hi, my name's Diane Bellowis, and I'd just like to say
I was very unhappy with your comment, Jerry, on Facebook. It wasn't appropriate. But anyway, back in December of '22, Kurt Heiss was on Channel 7 News in the middle of a field saying how great a racetrack would be at 5 and Ridge. Well, it's 9 months later, and we haven't heard anything why this would be such a great thing for the township. So I decided to do a FOIA. So I asked for the records from July of this year for Kurt's emails about the racetrack, and I got a response back yesterday. And the fee would be $13,958.40, with half of that due in order for you to even start that process. So I believe there were about 20 other people that did FOIAs, and the grand total, if theirs was the same as mine, would be $280,000. This is information that we should be able to obtain from our board to find out exactly what in the heck's going on.
I'm sorry, I missed what the numbers were about.
Pardon me?
I missed what you said the numbers were about, the 13,000. I
Yes.
missed your comment. Could you repeat it?
I can show
I'm
you
not
my
asking for the
email.
numbers, I'm
That's what they
asking what
told
they're
me it
about.
would be. And then the Kermit, there's also campaign flyers going around the township now. So there's a picture of Kurt, Jerry, and Bob. So they're their own little team. Well, it says on the flyer, Plymouth is on the right track. Is that to lead us to believe we are getting this racetrack? Because we don't need it, we don't want it. And it also says on there that that you're transparent, open, and you have a limited government. Well, transparent, maybe, if you want to fork over a ridiculous amount of money to find out what's going on, and that would be redacted to start with. And I will say the limited government appears to be on target because it says you limit what you want us to know. So that is right. So I'm real happy with that. So it's time for the board to start realizing that you're sitting up there because we voted for you, and you're supposed to be representing us, not your own personal agendas. And I have one other thing. I've heard that, is there going to be like electronic billboards on M14 and 275 if this racetrack goes through, advertising it? Is that
We
a
are
fact?
currently in litigation regarding the billboard issue.
And who's going to pay for the electronic billboards?
It's a private company that makes billboards for a living. So, and your time is up, so.
We have a consent agreement from years ago that gives us a certain number of days.
No, Chuck, no, she's referring to the billboard on at Ridge and M14. It was rejected.
Yeah.
No, Chuck.
On both streets, 275 and M14.
No, we're two different things.
Advertising the racetrack.
Those are
if it
billboards
comes.
that are, I guess we're talking about two different things.
One of them is not built yet.
We're in court on one of them right now.
We're being sued.
We're fighting not to have.
I know, but the other two, we already have a consent agreement that goes back years, and we're allowed 3 days. And is that what you're talking about?
No.
The township has 3 days?
Okay, well,
No.
okay. Well, your time's up, so I just want to let you know.
And I have one other thing I want to say. On Channel 4 News tonight, there's a bridal shop in Birmingham. So she's been in business a long time, and a lot of brides have put money down and were waiting for dresses. Well, she's gone out of business. And you know why she went out of business? She has a gambling addiction. That's what she said. She's in jail now. We don't need to push gambling.
Okay, we gotta wrap it
There's
up.
enough problems in the
wrap it up.
world
We gotta
today.
wrap it up.
We need to clarify her statement
On what?
on what she's saying, that we're charging $200,000.
Oh, okay.
Would you please, the attorney's going to address her statement is incorrect, so. About the price.
Oh, the FOIA price.
Yeah.
The FOIA price was set forth in the response. It also specifically stated that one person or a combination of all of the FOIA requesters could pay the $13,000, 50% up front. It's never going to be $200,000. And it's specifically stated in the FOIA response.
So that means all 20 would be $13,000?
Yes. It's 18 months, 20 months worth of.
Why is that, Jerry?
Pardon?
Why is it $13,000?
Well, real simple, because there's 6,400 emails that we have to review. And if you take at a minimum of 2 minutes to review each one, it's going to be over 215 hours of work.
Was that because the FOIA request was written so broadly that you couldn't really?
Right. If they want,
It was just one sentence, wasn't it? It was like, give me everything?
It just give me everything about different things. So when you query the system for all that information, you end up with 6,400 emails. That takes time, effort for people to do. It has to be a qualified person, meaning me, someone who can say whether something is exempt by law. I can't have somebody who works for $25 an hour look at it, because they are not qualified as one of the 3 people up here who are responsible for knowing whether something has attorney-client privilege. So it takes hours, 215 hours to go through those. And the law allows a community to recoup some of those costs in order to do all that work. 215 hours. I've got to get ready for elections. I don't have 215 hours. But if you pay, then we'll have to do it. But we can't do it for free.
But the bottom line is that if somebody's trying to seek information through a FOIA, if they write a precise FOIA,
it makes it easier.
They can get what they want. If you do it in such a broad one sentence that says, requires you to search through 6,000 emails and read them all, it's a poorly written FOIA. That's the problem. If you had a FOIA that said, I'd like to see the contract between party X and Y, you'd have it that day because it's very specific. But when you write, put some thought into it. It was like there was no thought put into it.
Okay.
There wasn't.
All right.
Read it.
So what are we going to do now, Mr. Hoag? Is this going to be a debate now?
In response to the FOIAs, there were 20 people that submitted a FOIA.
Right.
So there were 20 different FOIAs for 20 different segments of time. You referred to them as being identical. Attorneys are literalists, aren't they?
Okay, this
I can't believe this would be considered identical FOIAs and therefore grouped together.
Okay.
Doesn't make any
Folks,
sense.
thank you. If you want to pursue an appeal at some point, those are all arguments that you can make at that time.
In the
Is there-
response.
Is there anybody else at
In the
this point?
response is a remedy for you to appeal.
Okay. No, this is, we're
No
not
debate.
operating
No
this
debate.
way. Mr. Zantop has the floor, he's coming forward, and he's going to get his 3 minutes, just like you did.
You can ask a question.
I just want to mention, fill this out. I just want to mention, I've been doing FOIAs for years, and I know how to do it. Every time I send one in here, I get stonewalled and huge fees, and I never get an answer. And it's very discouraging. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else at this point? Otherwise, I'd like to get on back to the agenda. Okay.
My name is Adrian Rice. I've been a resident of this township now for 15 years. I am a transplant from the east side. My wife was kind enough to show me the beautiful township over here and sold me on a concept, a simple one, that this is a family town. So I picked up from St. Clair Shores and moved over here. Facts, guys. I can't believe that we're gonna vote possibly on a losing proposition of a racetrack. The simple fact is that even when I was in high school, at Lakeview High School, I valeted at Hazel Park Racetrack. I look around Hazel Park back in the day, this is when even in the higher points when racing was popular, there wasn't bars, there wasn't restaurants, there wasn't recreational things to do, there was squat, okay? And you're gonna tell us that a racetrack coming here is gonna bring more entertainment value to the city? It isn't. Racetracks have lost 1.9 CARG last year alone. They had an annual income of over $5 billion 8 years ago. It's now around $3 billion. Where is the win? It's a loss. It's good. The last racehorse needs to go. There is too much other entertainment in Michigan. There's other casinos already existing. There's other venues in Detroit that attract people. Downtown Plymouth attracts people, right? Racetracks don't attract. They're fighting to stay alive. I can go back in the history of the owners of Northfield Down, and they sued the state of Michigan when Granholm was our governor. And they stated in their lawsuit from 1972 to 1980, they lost 85% of their business, and they blamed it all on Michigan State Lottery so that they can have some kind of gambling electronically sent out. There is no victories when it comes to this racetrack. Zero. I told myself I wasn't going to get involved in politics again. I can go back in Macomb County, Heist could probably look at me on Facebook and find out that we've got some similar friends. I've got a pedigree in Macomb County of politics. I wanted to come to this area and live a quiet life. I don't want to be dragged into this. And I can't imagine people that I voted for. I honestly voted for you guys. And I can't see myself doing that again, right? You give me nothing here. I was a little upset when Heist was talking about getting rid of the golf course. I want a green city. I want a city that I have my family in. I got a 12-year-old son still. I got a 28 and a 32-year-old. That's another story in itself. But guys, think about this. You've got voters out there. You've got people who are looking at what's going on. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Rice, if you want to set up a meeting with me one-on-one for coffee, I'd love to sit down and talk to you.
You got it.
Okay, call me up. We should move the fire station people about the budget. Get them out of here.
Hi, my name is Laura Schumont, and you may be happy to hear I'm not here to talk about the racetrack, but I do oppose it. I'm here to talk, unfortunately, Jeremy, I don't know where he went, because most of this will probably be directed towards him. I'm here to raise concerns about the sidewalk gap program. I live on South Main Street in Plymouth Township. I'm sorry.
Just speak up. Just speak.
Okay.
Here.
Maybe if I put it up. Turn. I'm here about the sidewalk gap program. I live on South Main Street that was, I believe it's either completed now or, oh, there you are, Jeremy, you're sitting lower.
Yeah, he's right over there. I was looking for him too.
And we have concerns. Before the sidewalk was started, we didn't get any notice other than a notice taped on our front doors the week before the sidewalk was to be put in. I did arrange a meeting with all the residents on the street with Jeremy and Phil. Phil is with the company that is constructing the project. Now that the project is complete, I urge you to take a drive down the road between Ann Arbor Road and Joy Road. The sidewalk looks atrocious, is my opinion. There are now 3 to 4 feet ditches along the side of the road. I've already had a report from one resident that someone riding a bike fell off the sidewalk because it makes a major curve in front of his house into the ditch that was not in front of his house that he now has in front of his house. And that person on the bike has fallen in or towards the ditch. I don't know which one. There is a considerable 4-foot ditch in my next door neighbor's yard that she did not have before. Now, how does she mow a 4-foot ditch? It's gonna be a major problem for her. Not only the problem about her getting in to mow it, she has to go buy a new lawnmower because she only had a riding lawnmower before because she had a flat area there. There are many ditches now along the sidewalk. The sidewalk curves in many directions. I had a curved wall at the end of my sidewalk with light poles. I've been told that those walls are not going to be replaced. We are not going to get reimbursed for it. I spoke with Phil a couple days ago. I made phone calls on Thursday. I made phone calls today. I have not gotten phone calls back from any township person regarding, am I going to be reimbursed? What is going to be happen with it? It's just like the runaround. Everything's blamed on Wayne County. I found one resident between Ann Arbor Road and Joy Road that was happy about the sidewalk going in. I urge you to please take a drive down the road and see what it looks like now. 2 big trees have been cut down that didn't need to be cut down. There are ditches there. I hope to God that plenty of accidents that happen at Joy Road and Main Street, that somebody does not end up in the ditch on the corner. Please take a drive down there and see if there's something that can be done to get the ditches filled in.
Okay.
Have somebody call me back to find out what's going to happen to reimburse me.
I know Jeremy has another item on the agenda, but maybe if you guys want to go out in the hall and just have a quick sidebar, that's fine tonight if you want to do that. But otherwise, I know Jeremy and his team will follow up with you on that.
And we're arranging a meeting out there.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Said we're arranging a meeting out there with the residents again to walk the job, similar like we did before. Where
Okay.
we walked through and we made adjustments to the plan to accommodate people to avoid trees.
Do you know when that might happen? Because I'm out of town a lot. Maybe I can arrange to be home.
Yeah, I don't know the exact date, but I can let you know. So we can have a
The
sidebar.
sidewalk is completed, the concrete is poured.
Yeah.
Concrete is poured. I would not say the project is completed yet. There are still a handful of punch list items that need to be addressed and some items that need to be addressed, but, you know.
Who was the contractor?
What was that?
Who was the contractor?
Merlot?
Or Great Lakes, which one?
No, Italia, I think was the name.
They did a great job. They're wonderful people, the people that worked out there.
Merlot did Ann Arbor Trail. That was.
Okay. All right, well, you guys can continue that discussion.
Communication.
That would be great. Okay, anybody else?
Can you?
I would like to,
Well, yes, sir. Okay.
relevant to the subject prior to this lady.
I don't know.
No, I said
yet.
relevant to the subject prior to you. I called the Michigan Gaming Control Board this week.
Okay.
I went straight to the top. There's no way you would ever get me to disclose who I spoke with for 45 minutes. He gave me a macro factual picture. He has a law degree and his law license and truth is on the line. He said to me, don't you know that there was only 56 reported nights of running horses at Northville Downs last year? Don't you know that there's a decreasing interest in people supporting horse racing, harness racing, and the revenue is steadily declining?
John.
Then relevant to the fifth, please don't interrupt me.
Well, John, you're
No,
talking
no, no,
about
no, no,
things
no.
that
I
are
am
not on the
reciting.
agenda.
There you go
Things are
again.
not on the
Bullying.
agenda.
Domineering.
Really? Wow.
Let me finish.
Okay.
I can talk in a pianissimo voice,
Okay.
but you are a bully to me
I'm sorry, John.
and to several other people here.
Okay.
56 nights of racing, horses. So the director, now all horse racing is under the control of the gaming board.
Going to be Exhibit A.
This
someday.
was put in place by Governor Granholm, and Governor
He's behind us,
Snyder
the
left
lawsuits.
it that way. I was asked, what are you going to do with the other 300 days of the year? Simulcast? Then on a state level, I'm told there are 3 pieces of legislation to expand gambling. I no longer think of this as a racetrack. I call it a gambling facility.
Okay, John.
300 days worth. And what are we going to do with it? Of course there's alcohol. Of course there's everything else that goes along with that. But let's put this in perspective. And tonight, a lady here, I believe her first name was Diane, alluded to the Michigan Department of Transportation changing a sign out on M14.
John,
Please don't interrupt
she
me.
didn't say anything about
What is
that.
wrong with you?
We have
Bullying and rude.
We have an
Stop
agenda
it.
that we have to
No, no, no,
follow,
no,
John.
this is relevant.
This is not
Stopping a
board
sign.
comment time. You'll have time at the end of the meeting, John.
Yeah, I went through one meeting 2 months ago where you didn't let me speak till 9:43.
It's because it was board comment time.
Okay, there you go again. I can be calmer than you can.
Okay.
I can talk in a pianissimo, but your rudeness and your arrogance is infinite.
Okay, John.
If there is a sign change by MDOT, it would read, Plymouth Township, welcome to the racetrack, gambling facility. And now the lady, I think her first name was Diane, alludes to an electronic billboard rebranding and advertising the racetrack in Plymouth Township. It was printed in the Detroit Free Press, my article. Our culture, our morals, and our values are on the line. If Mike Cox says no thank you to a community benefit agreement, your word is on the line.
Okay, John.
We're parting ways.
Settle down, John.
And there will be no
Settle down, John.
racetrack.
Okay.
There will be no
Okay, John.
gambling facility.
Your grandstanding.
See, you can't give me 3 minutes.
You're out of line.
No, you're out of control.
You're out of control, sir.
No, you need to apologize.
You're jeopardizing negotiations.
I'm not jeopardizing any I don't know what's going on with your negotiation. I'm giving you 2 weeks to come up with a community benefit plan, and if you don't have it, it's over.
You may be jeopardizing attorney-client privilege, okay? So I'm just.
My
putting you on
article was
notice.
published in the Detroit Free Press.
thank
What's
you.
your response?
Thank you. I know what their response was.
You never saw it.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? All right. Okay. We're going to move on with the agenda. And what I'd like to do now is poll the board. If we could maybe have the fire station consultants come up first. You guys live far away, and I don't know, unless you want to sit through the police and fire budgets. I mean, they think it's very exciting. So why don't we switch gears here, and Chuck, it's okay. We'll wait for you. Okay, so Chief Conley, do you want to say anything first, or?
Just introducing the.
Speak up. Hold on. We have too many sidebars going on here. Let's just wait a minute.
Where'd Kermit go?
He's sick. I think he went to the bathroom. He's got the sniffles. Do you wanna? I hope not.
Hope not, it's going around.
I'm sorry if I upset you with the truth.
John, please.
But I'm really not sorry at all. I think you owe me an apology.
John, leave me alone.
And the people an apology.
John, leave me alone, please. Leave me alone.
Deceptively presenting
Leave
this
me alone.
issue.
Leave me
You
alone.
have lied.
Okay, shh, John.
You have lied.
Be calm. John. Be calm. All right, I think we're going to get started, but I do need Chief Conley to start us off.
Just introducing the gentleman from Partners in Architecture. We met with them regarding
Speak up,
the station.
please.
Yeah, we can't
regarding
hear
the
you.
Station 2 project, so I don't think I have enough room up there to come up to that microphone. They're just gonna go over the proposal tonight to the board on assessing replacing Station 2.
Okay, so you may recall that the board authorized, I think back in April, that we do a study, kind of a feasibility study of what would be necessary at Station 2. That is included. It's just a one-page summary of the things that the chief and I, to some extent, were looking for the new Station 2. It's self-explanatory. I don't want to have to read it to you. And we also contacted Mueller Canfield Law Firm, which has served in the past as our bond counsel. And I think between the consultant, maybe it was another consultant that we talked to, because we have been talking to different people along the way. I think what we were looking at is a facility that would be about $6.5 million in the $6 to $6.5 million range. And then interest rates right now for a municipality, again, according to Miller Canfield, which was about a month ago, would be about 4.5% interest rate. Now, governments used to get 2.5%, but, obviously, interest rates are high now for everybody. But we could still get a decent rate, obviously, compared to what we would derive if we were in the private sector. So, again, the requirements are set forth in the final page of this document. And then we have, I know Chief Connolly went to St. Louis for a conference on fire station, how to build your own
The whole thing
fire
was a fire
station.
station design conference, yes.
Fire station design conference. There's something for everybody. So he went down to that conference back in May, I believe, and met up with other consultants from around the country. We also have, both the chief and I have toured various fire stations in southeast Michigan, sort of to emulate, best practices or best in class at this particular point in history. We are looking, I think the stations that I like the best, Chief may disagree, but is really kind of under our nose in Canton Township. So if you go to the fire station in Canton Township, it's on the new one that they just built on Warren Avenue. That is a much larger facility than we would need for Station 2, because they also have a much larger staff there, and they have some other command type operations that go on in that building. But I think generally the look and feel of that building is sort of what we would like to emulate, at least, or at least study further. I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer, and the chief is a fire expert, so we know what we want, but we really need to take that next step just to get us to where we have to see something that we can buy into, that we can agree on, and that we can, more importantly, move forward on. So again, I want to emphasize that this does not commit the board to construction of a station, but I think the consulting fees that are being asked for are reasonable in light of the size and scope and cost of the building that we're looking to create, or we might want to be creating. One of the other things that was very important in my book was the fact that we did not want to do any more land acquisition. Land acquisition is very expensive, and so we have to work within the footprint that we have right now at Station 2. We are also limited by the water tower and the water main that runs from the tower alongside the existing building towards Wilcox. And so there are some things that we can do. We can build on a water main if it's maybe a parking lot or pretty much a parking lot. That's about all we can really get away with, because we don't want to be breaking up a building to repair a water main at some point in the future. So we may, those are just some of the parameters that we set forth. I think we were very impressed with your work. You guys did do the Canton Fire Station. Yes. You've done numerous other fire stations and public safety facilities. I understand you're also working on the large Northfield Township public safety and DPW and everybody else on 7 Mile as well, right? So that's another big plus in our book, because you know the territory and you seem to have a very successful track record. So I won't say anything more to promote you guys, but if you would like to tell us a little bit more about yourselves and then what your professional recommendations or vision might be for what Plymouth Township is looking for at that particular location.
Sure. I'll start out. My name is Mike Malone. I'm with Partners in Architecture. I'm one of the principals and owners of the company, and my partner here, David Gasson, just returned from vacation, so he came on the plane today, yeah. But together, we formed this company 2005, right? Mm-hmm. So going on 19 years in business, and we primarily only focus on public entity type work, just like what you're looking for. As was mentioned, we did complete the Canton Fire Station number 2 about 2.5 years ago, I want to think, if I'm right. And we're in the process of finishing up the police station renovation over there currently. We do a lot of public work, so we have a long list of fire station projects. Dexter is one that's in design currently. Green Oak Township is under construction. That's one of our projects as well.
We just finished a design similar to what we're talking about here in terms of defining and conceptualizing a project for Scioto Township as well. So we probably have 12 different fire station projects in the works currently. And like Mike mentioned, public work is one of our focuses. It's in the 95% range, and public safety is one of the strongholds in that arena for us.
Yeah, we're both registered architects. We have a staff of close to 35 individuals, all in the architectural field. And I'm very familiar with this area as well. I grew up here. I actually graduated from Plymouth Salem High School. My parents still live in Canton, but nearby, so very familiar with the neighborhood. I actually worked on your old township hall back in the day, long time ago.
Not this one.
Yeah.
The old township hall.
The old township hall,
Wow.
yeah. I remember doing some dispatch, holding cell, something or other. Anyways, I worked at a firm right on Main Street there. They're no longer there anymore.
Okay.
Been around for a while. So.
Our process is very collaborative. As you mentioned, it's kind of the beginning, trying to identify what it is you need, and you have a good idea. So our process is very collaborative, work with the subject matter expert, fire chief, and the department, as well as township, to really create what it is your vision is for the fire station. We facilitate, but it's your kind of fingerprint, and the end result is going to be what it is you envision for the township.
Yeah, so the first task, we title it conceptual design. That's really what it is. We're going to evaluate your site. Yes, you have a challenging site. You have an existing building there. Obviously, we'll have to vacate that in order to construct a new one. We're going to evaluate multiple layouts, positioning of the building. There's not a lot of options based on how the streets kind of come into there. It's a little awkward, but we can do it. The Canton site was very difficult as well. They had wetlands and a lot of other complications there, but that all worked out just fine. So working through the program elements, your building is, 5,000 square feet, I think is what was mentioned, and maybe a target would be 10,000 is what was mentioned to us. We'll determine that based on appropriate sizes for apparatus bays, dorm spaces, day living areas, and so forth. And it'll be unique to Plymouth Township. So it's not going to be a carbon copy of anything. There may be elements you've noticed in some of the other facilities, but we'll make it right for you. The conceptual design will kind of have a site plan, a floor plan development, and then a 3D model that will at least be able to show you what it could look like, character-wise, materials and so forth, colors. And then we'll develop a cost estimate, on where we think construction dollar could fall into play. And it all depends on timing, how far out in the future is this going to be, but, we'll have a good idea. And our process for this, we envision we'd be able to deliver that probably right before the holiday season, if we get approval to move forward.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, any other questions for the consultants?
This is surprising. We've already decided we're building.
No.
Well, I know, but we haven't had a board discussion on this, even, or I asked to participate. No one invited me to any meetings. This is what we're talking about. There's no analysis. We're already going to this point where we're getting architects. What about we need to assess the need. In fact, when this showed up on the goals, I asked the fire chief. He didn't even know about it. That was in January. So this thing just percolated up, and we're moving and timing. Why would you want to build something when construction labor is at an absolute record high and availability? Why wouldn't we want to be discussing this and coming up with a work plan instead of jumping to these guys who are doing architect? He said he's talking about colors already. So there's a lot of functional things here. And I know that we're going to get and 4.5%, I came in and heard you that, that could change. It may go down.
And we can always refinance. We've done that before too.
No, but you can also wait when people build houses or businesses, sometimes they wait for when the interest rates are a little more affordable. So I don't know. I haven't seen any analysis. I haven't seen one piece of data out of the fire chief of saying why we need this and what's going on. We haven't had a tour. We've spent a lot of money refurbishing this building over the last 10 years. I don't get it. How can we run to the decision that quick?
Well,
Let's
it's in
talk about it.
It's in the motion and it's in all of our discussions
in
that
the
we're not,
motion.
we're not committing the
I know,
township
but
to a first phase.
We're
beyond the
way,
first
we're
phase.
way out ahead of the decision-making process. It's almost like the decision's already been made. We're doing this. It's an election year coming. Why would we do this in this chaotic building time when there's such, you can see it with any construction project, because of ARPA, there is such a demand for construction work because the federal government has sprinkled money all over the place and it's driven the cost and the lead times out of this world. I don't get it.
Well, my question is, what are you proposing? Should we have gone into a closed session? I mean, what is the protocol?
We should discuss it. We
Right
haven't had
here?
any discussion. I haven't had one piece of data presented. Not one. Have you?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is that
Yeah, I haven't
is that
seen one piece of
typical
data.
that we just
We're
get
already
some kind of
going to-
handout or an email or?
Now, this kind of
Because
expenditure,
there's a write-up
which,
here on
Well, you've
that it's
asked us-
old and.
You asked us to put together a summary of what we were looking for. So that takes us to this next level again.
but we haven't even
wanna
done the
proceed.
needs assessment.
Other than it's a
What,
50-year-old
I live
building
in a
that's
50-year-old
inadequate.
house and I'm not tearing it down.
No, and nor should you, but this is a different type of animal altogether, as you know, so. And it doesn't match the needs of the modern time, and it's just gonna get worse.
If I may,
Yeah.
Trustee Kermey's points are ones I agree with. I want to ask you two gentlemen. I worked for the Michigan Municipal League for 2 years full-time, and I saw these kind of staffing proposals and site proposals. 2 questions. Are you going to assess need, and are you going to be talking and listening, not only to the chief, but to all the firefighters, stations 1, 2, and 3? Are you going to be talking to perhaps 20 or more and listening to 20 or more firefighters? Those are my 2 questions. Need and your willingness to go out. You seem to know what I'm talking about when I say I worked for the Michigan Municipal League.
Yeah, go ahead.
In personnel.
A hallmark of our business practice is listening. That's the key to what we do is we listen. Programming, and that's mentioned in our proposal, is problem solving by way of needs assessment. So our initial process starts with interviewing work sessions with the users, the experts in the subject. So the firefighters, fire chief, and the different people that use that facility. And it's a dialogue, it's a work process where we're trying to find out how they operate, the culture of the department, and their needs, not just now, but we look 30 years into the future, trying to assess some flexibility into a program statement or a needs assessment. So that is really the first step. And that's the guiding document we use throughout the whole process. It's a live document that stays relevant until the project's designed.
In
So
the spirit
listening
of
is
full
key.
disclosure, this past week on my bike ride in Lake Point, I stopped into Station 2. I knocked on the door, and the guys opened the door. I got claustrophobia. So if you're looking at redesigning, restructuring, doing something significant to Station 2, I would have to say that there would appear to be a need. But Trustee Kermey's point's well taken. None of us have been inside or over there other than when I stopped on my bike ride a week ago at 7 o'clock at night, unannounced, without an appointment. And I got a tour. And I walked out and got on my bike and said, thank God, because I had claustrophobia. Station 2 is very, very different than 1 and 3.
And part of our exercise will be to understand the other 2, actually all 3 stations, Station 2 for one, but what are the downfalls or the challenges they're experiencing? Yes, it's an old building, but old buildings, you don't have to throw them out. We could fix certain aspects of those. some things are so restrictive, doesn't make sense from a cost standpoint to renovate. We're going to determine that through our analysis, but we do want to learn more about the departments, how are they operating at the other two stations? What really works out here? There's probably some great things that you want to copy or integrate into the new facility. So it's not like we're coming in here and we have a solution. We got lots of fire stations for sure, but we're going to design one that's right for Plymouth Township. You look at every single one of them, every one of them is different, okay? Maybe there's a couple similarities here and there, but it's right-sized based on need, and, projection of need for the future growth in the community and so forth.
Well, I would encourage you to use a lot of carryover design. This isn't that unique of a fire station, does almost all the same things, whether it's in California or here. So I see some face making over there, but generally the structure of the building is the same. So there's a way to thrift and save money by using carryover designs.
Yeah,
As much as possible.
Chuck, I agree. I agree with you, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're recommending this firm, because we've seen their work product, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel either. And there are certain design elements that we have seen in your facilities that you've helped or managed, and those are the kinds of things that we're looking for as well.
Best practices across the industry.
There you go.
That's what we're going to bring to the table. We can go on tours together. We can, define the project. We will define the project as a group.
Okay.
So, what's your fee for this? Is it 100,000?
Oh, I hope not.
No.
No, the conceptual design fee is $19,500. It's a fixed number. We're going to provide the needs assessment, the evaluation, the concept design, renderings, and cost estimate.
Another aspect of our practice and the flow of work is it's not one and done, it's multiple options, because there are, even though there's similarities in every station, there are options that need to be explored during the process of design, and its efficiency of operation flow throughout a station. So we look at multiple solutions before we arrive at one that kind of fits the need assessment.
Well, maintenance and longevity is really important.
Yes.
And what kind of roof you're going to use is one of the most important design elements. What are you proposing for most stations? Are they trusses, wood trusses with gables and shingles, or are they metal? What's going on out there?
It's a variety of things, but we're seeing a life cycle analysis, cost-benefit analysis of operation or ongoing maintenance. So we generally see a combination of metal roof as a option, preference A, or a shingle roof with slope, or sometimes a flat roof or membrane. We have seen them all get evaluated.
I don't want a flat roof.
And they get evaluated for different reasons, whether it's maintenance or first cost. We look at the longevity and life cycle of a building. We know that we design for 30 years, but we know municipalities use them for 50.
You only design for 30 years, you need to design for 50.
From planning, and what I was saying was 30 years the planning, but municipalities use them for 50. So the endurance needs to be there for that 50 year, but the planning, because it changes. You add a new service to a fire department, its flexibility is going to change, or any other kind of facility.
And it's a 24/7 building too.
24/7.
All I care about is that, and I'm being facetious here, this is satire, okay? It has to be squirrel-proof. It has to be squirrel-proof, and that's an inside joke. We'll tell you more about that later, so. All right, any other, we got Bob,
just
Bob's in the.
One last question is, do you guys plan for how the everyday operations will be affected? Like what happens to, the fire station if it's being rebuilt there? How will they be able to answer calls? Would they get, positioned out someplace else?
You want to talk about that, Chief?
Yeah, at that point, they'd have to be reassigned, and we'd just reassign the staffing between 3 and 1.
Okay.
Can we borrow space at Northville Township?
It's closer, our stations are closer.
It's too far away, really. Yeah. Remember, they were operating out of Station 2
Where is the
with
closest Northville station? Did they ever build
6
one?
mile between Sheldon and.
Okay, they never built one on Haggerty Road.
That's what they're doing now, though. And that's what you guys
Oh,
are
they're building it now.
Yeah. So that's
So that
police.
could be a place we could borrow.
No, they're
That's
building
not
one
built
on
yet.
7 Mile.
Pardon?
7 Mile on the old state hospital property.
Oh, that's the 37 million they're spending.
Yeah. They're bonding for it, though, so.
Oh, of course, borrow money.
Yeah. I'm going to have to wait till Mr. Dorshevitz gets back before we take any votes or anything like that. So,
So when is your first meeting with the chief?
Well, if this is approved, we would project we'd start probably the middle of October, about 4 weeks.
Please invite me to the meetings.
Yeah, we'll meet with whoever.
I'll give you a card.
For sure.
I think one of the things, I think one of the things, Chuck doesn't get invited to anything. I think one of the things that we did talk about was sort of a small group design. And I don't want to use the word charrette because that's more short term, but more of a kind of a study group or something like that. We did talk about that, so.
Good. And then that's how we work. I mean, we're not coming in telling you what you need. You're going to tell us what you need,
Okay.
and we're going to help you get there.
All right,
Gentlemen, I'll
yeah.
offer the motion, but
Okay.
gentlemen, I would appreciate, it's my
yelling.
bias. I'm not, well, you yelled at me.
I never said a word to you. You keep yelling in my ear. Stop
Well,
it.
so you stop it. You yelled at me.
Okay, guys.
You yelled at me.
I never said a word to you.
Yes, you did. All right. You told me to tell them that they had no right to vote.
Okay, guys, this is old
Gentlemen,
news.
my
John.
preference is professional certification. If you would come in here with a recommendation from the state firefighters, Larry Groth was highly
Hold on,
respected.
John, there's somebody here running a TV or something. Could you turn it off, please?
What?
He's got a,
That's all I'm asking you
he's
for.
watching a video,
Who is?
the
You
gentleman
can't
in the
hear.
green shirt.
So if you, when you come back to us, come in with a recommendation from the state. You know, like I got the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police and come in with a recommendation from the state that they support this concept.
Okay. Sounds good. John, do you make the motion?
Sure, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the attached resolution 2023-04-11-76, selecting Partners in Architecture PLC for a possible new Lake Point Fire Station in the amount not to exceed $19,500 for the first phase and pursuant to the attached proposal to be signed by the supervisor, and further, this motion does not commit the township beyond the first phase of the proposal.
Okay, motion is made by trustee Stewart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by treasurer Dorshevitz. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Kermy.
No.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. So at this point, let's move on to the 2024 budget request. This is for public safety. And why don't we start, we do have Carol Roshan here just as a resource. She's still the deputy finance director, but we do have a new finance director who just started today, so she's still unpacking. And we don't want to scare her off yet, so we want to make sure that she's adapting to the new job.
What is
So,
her name and where did she come
Jerry?
from?
Yes, her name is Elizabeth Cutie, and she comes from the Washtenaw ISD, where she was a manager of the accounting department. Many years of experience in the public sector. CPA from in Ohio is where she got her degree.
She retired from that ISD?
Yeah, no, she just changed jobs.
All right.
But she had about 15 years in different positions there.
Okay. So let's, if you can expand that screen maybe. And we're going to start with Chief Conley, and he's going to walk us through the 2024 Fire Department budget request. And remember, everybody, these are all drafts. We're not voting on anything tonight. This is your opportunity to ask questions and frankly, for both chiefs to make their pitch to us. We want to have a dialogue with them and understand more what they're looking for in the next year's budget. Also, just remind everybody that we do 2-year budgets now here, so that's become the new normal. And so, we're going to be focused obviously on 24, but we are also projecting a 25 budget as well. So, Chief Conley, take it away and just make sure we can hear you in the mics and everything.
Good evening, board. So we have our presentation here with our fiscal year 2024 fire department and emergency management budgets. The fire department budget, as you can see, is going to be $5,943,500. And the emergency management, a very small fraction of that at $31,000.
Why is it 31, why is it anything? Because the county is supposed to be our guardian.
Now, we still have some items that we have to maintain, such as the emergency alert systems, the EOC here.
What did we spend last year on emergency management?
And then part of that is also the crossing guard. There's a big portion of that.
Crossing guard, we have to pay for the crossing
Right,
guard.
but
That's like $12,000
that's been
of
in the
that.
fire budget? I thought it was general fund.
No, it's
it's my
emergency.
budget. It's 12,500. Actually, I think it's 14,000. Actually, I can get back.
Okay, so that's what's
That's a
the crossing
large
guards for
portion
the
of that.
schools are in the 31,000.
That's a large portion of that. And then it's just all the other stuff for maintaining. We have service contracts on the sirens, and various different contracts and equipment we have.
Hang on, I want to get to the right page in the
119.
110 is, starts on 108. Okay. Okay. Ready?
Sure. So this is just the breakdown of everything for the fire department budget. You see, everything's pretty much the same as it has been for the last few years. We do have the capital or the debt service, the $113,100. That's our fifth payment on the ladder truck that was purchased in 2019. Everything else is pretty much in par with what it's been in the past, the same percentages.
Well, then why did it say the budget is up 17% in the summary, the executive summary? That's a big number, so
Almost
something changed.
900,000.
What's that?
Almost 900,000.
Something changed. 17%. That's double or triple inflation.
Thought it said that the wages, salary went up.
Yeah, it's
No, I hope they didn't go up triple of inflation. The number is 4.6 for wages.
The total
Percent.
goes from 4.9 million to 5.9 million. I'm sorry, the amended budget is 5.0 to 5.9.
900,000.
Yep.
So we've got to get into that. So that's a big change. What is it?
Well, there is 425,000 proposed in capital improvements, which we'll get to in some further slides.
Okay, why don't we start on the slides, Chief, okay?
Yeah, I thought it said somewhere that it was for the trucks and wages
Yeah.
in the
You
packet.
got to look at the line item detail in the budget.
Yeah.
No, wages is
Go to page
4.6%.
110 or 108 in your book. And you got to go through the line item detail.
No, I'm just saying that's what I read as to why it went up.
You got to understand the detail. The devil's
Okay,
in
why
the
don't we,
details.
let's have the chief get through his presentation,
Okay.
and then we'll, because if we're gonna back up and do questions, it's kind of,
All right.
So we got, if you go to the next slide, Bob, that gets to our capital improvements and just repairs, quite frankly, and a lot of this. For our first station improvements, we need to replace the grates at Station 1, the floor grates. They're basically rotted away and they're in need of replacement, just the metal parts of the grates. They've been deteriorated, they're 17 years old, and they need a replacement, that's $10,000. And then
Station 1 is on Haggerty Road.
this one right here,
Haggerty Road.
yep. And then Station 2 is in the budget to replace the generator for $50,000.
The last time we were going to do this, about 6 months ago, it was 36,000. Why did it go up by such a large?
This is the 80 kilowatt generator as opposed to a 60 kilowatt generator. If we put anything bigger in that site, we're gonna need a bigger generator.
So,
But we're gonna wait to
but
see.
the,
what
yeah,
the
but
build
the,
like.
so right now you're operating with no generator at the Wilcox station?
Correct. And if we
Why
put a
wouldn't you spend the
$35,000
$3,000 to get it running?
because we don't know if that's gonna work. We've been told by our professionals that service it, they don't know that
I'd
fix
say
is
it's
gonna.
worth the gamble because this is very important for the new station, that it be sized correctly. So I don't want to be doing a reach now and then find out a surprise. I recommend, everything is fixable, But if you can do it for $3,000 or $4,000, operating without a generator, I think is not a good thing.
Not a good thing. I agree.
But,
It's like I said, they told us they can't guarantee the repair at the $3,000 and.
well,
we
they
were
may not
looking
be
at
able to
what-
guarantee it, but it may work. So guarantee is a little different than it may work. So either that or let's talk to someone else who's maybe a little more creative instead of uses the four-letter word can't, or you need to buy new. Because this is important for a new building, if we ever build a new building, that you exactly right.
That's why we're proposing this generator here.
Okay, let's,
I'd take it out.
so noted, we'll deal with that later.
Copy the next slide, please.
Yep.
Sorry.
So the next capital improvement is a fire station alerting system, a company called Bricks. If you saw your new capital budget item that I submitted to the board, it lays this all out. This is an important feature of the stations that, quite frankly, right now is failing in our stations. This is basically, we're looking at 21st century technology now, as opposed to 20th century technology hooked to a 21st century system. We have an 800 megahertz radio system, which is a digital radio system right now. And it is basically, if you look over on the left here, that is the radio in station one. There are wires that are just basically hooked up to it by the installers on the fly. Nobody made a system that went to that station at that time. There was no alerting system as such. Basically that is in the supply closet in the station. And my guys are pretty much ordered not to touch that at all, because if we touch it, things will break, because it's basically so fragile.
So tell me the process of what it does.
That takes the signal from dispatch when they send the call out, and it transmits it through the station.
You mean voice or just the tone?
Voice, everything, the tone and the voice. So it's a PA system.
PA system.
Right, but it's an analog system tied into a digital radio system. And then.
You want to go to a digital
Correct.
PA system.
Correct. And then once the call comes in, the firefighters go out, they have to go to this board here. They look up the map on the old paper map, they look up the coordinates, they do the alphanumeric cross section, they find the road, and then after they find the street on the big map, they go down to the little map and find the exact page of the house. The system on the left, this is the brick system that is actually the component that will plug right into our computer tower, our rack. And that screen is what the firefighters will see. If you can see here, it's kind of hard to see, but that actually routes them to the call. It has shows all the fire hydrants nearby and everything they need to know on the way to the call.
Is it a GPS stuff?
Yes, it's through the internet, it's all digital.
Will you be keeping the paper system as a backup when the internet
Oh,
goes
absolutely,
down?
absolutely. We still have paper maps in the trucks, but this system's used by pretty much everyone around us in Wayne County, Northfield Township, Canton Township, Westland. The city of Detroit finally got a alerting system. Quite frankly, what the city of Detroit had for decades was subpar at best. They would have printers with a piece of pipe on it, and when the pipe fell on the ground, that's when the guys knew they had a call. This city of Detroit saved 40 seconds off their response times when you go into a system like this with the brick system. So basically, it's bringing our radio system into the 21st century. Our alerting system, alerting system.
Okay.
The next capital purchase is a 2024 fire department utility truck. Those of us, I'm dating myself pretty seriously, I call it a Johnny and Roy truck because it has the compartments around the outside. What we currently have is in service to our two utilities, we need to always have a pickup truck, just a plain pickup truck. Our 2003 GMC pickup truck is in pretty poor shape and it needs to be replaced. It's right out here in the parking lot. My fire inspector is actually using it right now because his truck's in the shop. So what we would do is that would go to auction and we would dispose of it. We would reassign utility one, which is a F-350 dually pickup. That's assigned to station one right here on Haggerty. The top would come off, and it has a big top on it. The top would come off. The cascade system, which the cascade system is what we used to use to fill the air bottles on fire scenes. When we switched to our bigger air packs in 2016, it really became inadequate for what we have, and we determined that hauling the bottles with us in another vehicle would be a better way to go. This vehicle would be able to facilitate hauling our extra bottles in it, and they would bring it to the scene. It's just more efficient and secure storage, gives us more storage from some of the items that can be brought by and not tie up space on the other units. And finally, this is pretty much this boilerplate we have every year. We have the HVAC contract for our service agreements. We have our striker, which is our cots and our life packs, the power load systems in the ambulances that put the patient in the ambulance and secure them, and also our Lucas devices, which is our CPR devices. And then finally, we have Apollo Fire equipment on there, which is our annual air pack service that we're required to do every year.
Ehlers, can we get leverage by doing all the township buildings with them? Can we get a more efficient contract, other than just the police, the fire buildings?
It's my understanding that Ehlers does do.
I believe Ehlers is a preferred vendor for the township.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, that's.
So are we gonna get them to do, so we can get maybe some discount because they do all the buildings?
Well, we can certainly talk to them about that, but I think they do all of our buildings, and they are the recommended contractor per the building department.
There's a lot of bills from that company called O'Neill or O'Brien.
Yeah, O'Neill does also some stuff for us too.
Their bill usually is a minimum is $3,000.
Well, they're always coming out here to repair the HVAC system at Township Hall, which, you know, unfortunately, we
They're the ones who
inherited.
designed it, and, you know.
We're doing a lot better though with this building because of I think we're just implementing better maintenance, day-to-day maintenance.
The service contracts have allowed us to do that in the fire department with our, we've noticed a difference just this last year since we've had it.
Yeah.
They still charge us $300 to change the filter though, right? Can we work on that?
I think we're doing a lot of that ourselves
I've seen
now.
some bills, $300 to change an air filter.
Yeah, but
So we might want to manage them so that they don't do that to us. Or we do it ourselves, I guess.
Okay.
Firemen might be able to do it.
That's pretty much all we have for our budget this year. Look where we are on our mission statement.
So Chief, what's your biggest capital improvement project? Is it that vehicle?
The vehicle would be the biggest, and the station alerting would be the two biggest systems. I say the station alerting is very important.
And then we also have the new ambulance that was paid mostly with COVID money. It's my understanding that COVID money paid for the vehicle itself, but the upfitting, the installation of everything is still coming out of your budget.
Correct.
That was ARPA funds?
Yeah, same thing.
So we're operating with 3 going to 4 ambulances?
Correct.
And why are we upgrading to 4 total?
Because we're not upgrading because we took one out with a blown motor last year.
Okay, so we have a spare, we operate with 3?
We don't have a spare. We have no spare right now. The
We're gonna
fourth
go-
one was
Well,
the
not
spare.
right now, but when we get the new ARPA one, we'll have 4.
Correct.
And then where will they be parked? Where will they be, since we have 3 stations, where will?
Most likely it's gonna be stationed either here at Station 2. I have some different, vehicle parking situations I'm currently dealing with and trying to figure out that, most likely Station 2 or Station 3.
Okay, so we will have.
We will have 3 on the road at all time.
Okay, and now
Currently
the new
with
we will
one
have-
down, with no backup, we've gone down to 2 ambulances.
Okay, so we have no backup now, but now
Correct.
we will have backup.
Correct.
Because I saw the letter from the firemen's union saying they want to eliminate HVA, so, and that they have the capacity, so I don't know if that's what they're talking about.
Did you guys all get a letter from the
Yeah.
union?
Yep.
Okay, because
I
they
gotta
told
get
me, they told me they were going to do that. The chief and I met with them to discuss staffing issues and transport and things of that nature. They certainly have a right to communicate with you, but statutorily, it's my job to negotiate contracts and to administer contracts, so.
And that's another good thing we should talk about in a closed session or something.
Which we can, because the negotiations on the fire contract, current fire contract expires at the end of March of next year. We're gonna have our first meeting with the union early October. You know, everybody, you know, just inform the union that obviously they have a right to communicate with the client here in this case, but
with the employer,
they do not have the right to negotiate contracts. And so I've also communicated that to our labor attorney because he was in today as well.
Yeah, I'm willing to listen to what they want, have to say, but I also would like to underscore and be really clear about that I'm not listening in order to negotiate.
Right.
It's not my job.
Chains of command.
We have to follow the chain of command,
Right.
and they know that.
Yeah, they do.
Now, what is going to be on your next agenda is our contract with HVA expires at the end of this month. So what I'm going to ask.
That's why we got this notice.
It's one of the reasons, but, you know, we are all suffering from staffing issues. We have it in the PD, we have it in fire, every community in
HVA has it.
HVA has staffing problems. And we cannot, it's very difficult to attract and retain policemen, firefighters, and EMS workers. So staffing issues are a legitimate issue, and that is certainly going to come up in the contract. However, our contract with HVA expires at the end of September. I will be asking at the next meeting for a 6-month extension. HVA has agreed to that, and that will allow us to buy more time with them, but also so that we can assess the level of service that we want to provide. And I want that to happen within the context of a new fire contract, okay? And so I don't like doing letters of understanding and addenda to contracts because we shouldn't have to do it that way. We did it with the lateral hire issue. We've had some success with that already in the police department. We're getting more nibbles now in fire, but you know, we're poaching, we're stealing from other departments.
No, the economy is always cyclical.
Well, it's a variety of factors.
It won't be like this
know.
forever. Everything
Well,
changes.
I don't know.
I've never seen this in 30 plus years.
I've never seen it either, and I've been in the business now as long as you
And you
have.
never saw a COVID where they rained money on everybody.
Back to the budget.
Pardon?
Back to the budget.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Back to the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what this is about, is the budget.
Okay.
So, this is a huge increase. You know, it's 900K, 17%. One of the big line items is 14% increase on wages, right? I assume that in part that is because of, you intend to hire, another firefighter still?
We are currently down one, but part of it also, I think, goes back to the lateral transfer because with the adjustment in wages.
But it couldn't have that big of an effect.
So if you go to full staff, shouldn't your overtime go down?
Yes.
So why did it go up?
No.
Because he hasn't hired, I guess.
Yeah, I still haven't hired that person, and quite frankly,
Well, that's
I
a
don't know if
question.
I
both
can-
sides of the
Get back to
equation.
us. Get back to us on
Well, we
that.
also had a firefighter who was disabled for
A year.
He was ill and then he died.
Right.
And then we've had other firefighters with health
Yeah,
related.
so my wages were down last year because one firefighter was on disability for almost an entire year.
In 23 or
In
22?
22.
And Bob, that's wages, benefits, that's, you know, overtime,
Everything.
that's.
So what's the staffing level again? How many?
We're currently at 23, but we're 24 would be full shifted in suppression.
You're authorized for 24.
Correct. And then we have one inspector and myself in the front office, an administrative assistant.
I strongly recommend that you make a ranked list of opportunities for cuts from this budget, because I don't think it can be approved like this. This is a tax increase. Or we have to dip into, maybe have to look and see what we do with fund balance, which is the savings account.
Yeah, and we have sequestered 500,000 for fire and police each in the current year budget.
What do you mean?
Sequester.
We voted on that.
For buildings.
We took, no. We sequestered, we earmarked, if you will, $500,000 for police and fire out of the current budget, out of fund balance.
Right, but for what purpose? I mean, I know what sequester means.
It's just set
I
aside. It's just set
Just to set
aside
it-
for situation, for future budgets or expenditures.
I see. And that doesn't have to be reflected in there, right?
I believe that is where Carol would be taking money out of that sequestered fund to literally pay for some of the requested items in this budget.
So we'd have to see some reconciliation to that fund line.
It ultimately comes out of the bottom line. See, I think we are pulling money out of both of those sequestered funds for both fire and also for police. But we're not draining those two funds, no. Right.
What
So
is that you mentioned?
350?
350 and 250, but when you say, so it's not 500, or you add those together?
No.
So currently, we have set aside 500,000 for fire and 500 for police. Think of it as taking it out of your savings account and putting it in your checking account to use.
For 23 or 24? For 24. So we would spend down fund balance in 24. Even,
Moving the restricted over, and it would go from look like we're using fund balance, but we're using the restricted.
yeah, my concern is that it's not sustainable over time.
Yes, you're right.
And, part of the revenue stream for next year is also assuming, part of it is also assuming that we're going to continue to do well in our cash investments.
Right.
Interest earned.
Right, interest earnings. I'm very concerned because in a, relatively healthy economy, we're in a deficit situation.
Well, I have an external thing that I'm concerned about. If we have a prolonged UAW strike, it will affect revenue sharing, but I don't know when, because no one will be paying income taxes when they're striking. So my judgment is we get a month-long strike, it will affect revenue sharing.
I don't know if there's a linkage, we can research that, but I don't think there's a linkage between UAW strikes and revenue sharing.
Oh, the
state budget hasn't even kicked in yet.
I know, but that's my point, is the state budget will be affected because it will have a shortfall if you have a prolonged strike.
Their budget, well, that's true of any economic condition that you have.
Right, that's what I mean.
The budget's a budget.
We have to be ready for it.
For us. Well, we can be ready for, we have this discussion every year. I mean, we can do what-ifs until we pass out, so.
Well, this isn't.
Why Bob brought up what your concern is.
Yeah.
That you might have a shortfall later on.
We have a very healthy fund balance right now, and we had this discussion back in the
Last
summer
year,
when we
yeah.
sequestered the funds, so. All right, Carol, have we missed anything that you need to bring up?
I would say on the wages right now,
Carol, why don't you come up here, because I know the folks at home want to hear you.
currently, right now, where you're seeing that high percentage on the wages, the amended budget the 23
Is it on this
amended-
page up there?
I can't see up there, so, yeah, that looks.
23, it's two.
Yeah, so what hasn't happened yet is in July, I believe it was, the lateral transfer was approved, and that affected about 5 or 6 firefighters. I haven't amended budget yet for that.
But that was only like $30,000, right?
No, it was more than that.
For fire, I think it was about 100 or 95 to 100.
Yeah, so,
First time I heard it was that big, to do the you're talking about the laterals?
Yeah.
yes.
Hiring firemen from other departments?
No, the ones that are already on staff that the agreement affected has now raised their wages, and I haven't been able to go in and amend budget yet, so.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So
Right.
that percentage will drop once I amend budget. It won't be appearing as high.
It was not retro money.
No.
Going forward.
Yes.
was.
So Carol, what you're saying is that then that wage number will go down, or what?
It's at 14% now. When I amend budget, that will drop the percentage. We won't be it won't look as we're increasing salaries as much next year because the salary number for this year needs to be adjusted.
Oh, so you're saying the 2023 amended budget will actually
That will increase, which then will put the percentage of increase down for '24.
And so the year-over-year, the second from last column on the right-hand side, the 317,000 will be a lower number.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
And what happens if you take money out of this restricted fund, like any savings account, is the plan to put it back in on a different date to refund it?
Well, that would probably be up to Kurt and the board. If we have a fund surplus, what do we want to do with it at the end of the year?
There might not be enough money to replenish it.
We have
because that's why he's talking about sustainability.
Yeah, but
for next year.
Sequestering funds is not something that you necessarily have to do every year.
Right.
We did it this year because we have a very healthy fund balance. So, we have that for a variety of reasons. And so we want to sequester that money
In case.
just to preserve it for public safety, for the needs of public safety. And we also set aside similar funds for general government, for Jerry, for the elections. So these are all, in Jerry's case, it's a statutory responsibility that he now has. And obviously, public safety is, we want to set aside money for public safety as well that cannot be used for other purposes.
That's probably about it.
And I think we can talk about that more too when we eventually probably before this budget is adopted, we're going to have a closed session with our labor attorney because we have all three contracts up right now too with police, fire, and the command unit. So so Chief, if there was something that had to be cut from this budget, I mean, what's the one thing that you could live without for another year?
Probably the truck,
How much is the truck?
$275.
Okay.
What about that system, the
That's
notification system?
100,000. That's 100,000.
That's
Right, that's
100,000.
100, so the notification system, I think, could be a number 2.
Oh, it's my number one.
In other words,
That's his number one, I think.
That's my number one.
That's his number one project.
Yes.
so give us the benefits, you don't have to do it now, but just tell us
Well,
why it's number 1.
Because the system right now is failing. I do have a functional truck. My utility 3 doesn't run that much. It's running a lot right now because it's my inspector's vehicle. But I can get by another year probably with that truck. But we need the firefighters, it's stressful for them when they have to rely on taking a radio into the bedroom at night, or if they're doing something out in the bay. This system it's state of the art. It's used by all our neighboring communities. They're actually, this company, I was just talking to him tonight, he's going to Boise, Idaho to do a large project for them. They're doing Andrews Air Force Base. They've done the city of Cleveland. These guys are no joke. They know what they're doing and they're the best out there, quite frankly. We've done our research on this.
Okay. All right. Anything else from either the chief or Carol at this time? Okay, so we've got some good input here tonight, and we will continue to work offline on all those items. All right, thank you, Chief. At this point, we now have Chief Nitel and Assistant Chief Kudra, and they are going to be doing a similar presentation for the police department.
Good. Thank you, and honored to be here today. Just really quick, I'd like to acknowledge that today is national. We nationally recognize women in police work. We have two of the finest officers in Caitlin King and Caitlin Nicely that work at our department, as well as my sister, who's a township resident who works for the University of Michigan. So today we acknowledge all of the women in police work, so thank you. First page of our presentation, we will start with the proposed 2024 organizational chart. This chart shows 31 police officers. We currently, as of, we have a conditional offer for our 30th officer. We are currently working find our 31st officer. So our recruitment team, as part of the accreditation process, we developed a recruitment team. And as I like to say, every officer, every dispatcher, every clerical person in our department is part of the recruiting team. So our 30th police officer that we're bringing on did come here with police experience. So the lateral that was approved by the board was very instrumental in that hire. So we appreciate that. Our dispatch staff is full staffed, as well as our clerical staff. Next slide, please.
The pie chart?
Pie chart. 24 police general budget, proposed budget. The areas where we saw the largest increase were the areas of wages, retirement, insurance. In those areas, then we have operational costs, and then we have capital outlay costs. Our capital outlay cost is one of the reasons that we have an increase in the budget. In our 2023 budget, we did not have capital outlay. A majority of the capital outlay costs go to vehicles. In 2023, we utilized forfeiture funding for that. Our current forfeiture balances are low, and we're looking to, with cases that are currently pending, over 24 current cases that we're waiting to be adjudicated. We're hopeful to replenish those funds. But if you've read about some of the pending, the HR 1525 Fair Act of 2023, we have some folks that are looking to eliminate equitable sharing, which would impact us significantly.
At the federal level or state? Federal.
That's federal.
Can you repeat that? I'm not sure I understood that.
Yeah, it's called the Fair Act of 2023, and part of that act is putting severe restrictions on what can be forfeited and why it can be forfeited, and the elimination of equitable sharing, which would severely impact any task force groups, whether it be DEA, HSI, FBI, anybody that participates in that, which 80% of currencies that are seized from drug traffickers goes back to the local municipalities.
Right.
Which,
I mean, that's been a revenue, I hate to say a revenue stream. It's been a source of funds for equipment for us for a long time.
and I would say specifically this year, with what we're looking at the capital outlay with 3 vehicles, plus the outfitting of 3 vehicles, the cost of the vehicles has risen. To outfit a vehicle now, it's almost $18,000. That was the last cost we had. I did an analysis over the last 10 years, and of the 38 cars that we've purchased, 36 of the 38 have been purchased with forfeiture funds. So we've only purchased 2. In 2021, I believe we've purchased 2 with general fund dollars. So this would be the second time over the last 3 years that we would ask for that. And again, that would be a majority of the capital outlay. The other portion of the capital outlay is approximately $100,000 for IT projects. Assistant Chief Kudra and I met with Bob Jenks, and there's some systems that need to be upgraded. And that's where that number came in. And then again, with the $350 for the capital outlay. Police department, if we go to the next slide.
How about the load? Oh, okay, you're not there yet.
No, yeah, I'll go to the next one. Okay. Proposed purchases. As I previously mentioned, the Ford Interceptor Utility Patrol Cars 3, patrol rifles 9. Our patrol officers currently utilize firearms that are, some are close to 20 years old, so they need to be replaced. We have supervisors, including myself, who would like to have access to a long gun in their vehicle, so that when we're out and about in the township, when I'm out and about in the township every single day, have access to a long gun that would be secured to the vehicle. So that's...
Are these AR design?
AR-15s, yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah. Replace the police server, data switches, and the backup system. Those are the IT projects that I mentioned that are nearing end of life. We have night vision equipment for our special operations team. members. These are night vision equipment that they use during high-risk operations. New modems for the patrol vehicles. Again, the modems that we have are nearing end of life. And the load-bearing vests. The load-bearing vests are not the actual bulletproof vests themselves like I'm wearing today, but it's the carriers that are built out. And the strategy behind load-bearing vest is that the equipment, the majority of the equipment is put on the vest itself. So you put the vest on, you zip it down, you have the protection of the bulletproof vest. A majority, 90% of the equipment is then carried on the vest itself, which would be, the bearing of the weight would be on your shoulders and not as the belt I'm currently wearing, where it's around your hips and causes what we see for officer wellness, hip and back issues with officers. And that's fairly consistent with officers 20 plus years that they see that. So I used the vest when I was with the University of Michigan. I wore the vest myself. They're probably one of the best pieces of equipment that have come out in law enforcement for officer wellness. When an officer comes in to take a report, if they're on an arrest and they come in, they have to take a report, they can zip just like you would take a vest off, you zip it off, take the vest off, set it down, and then they can go ahead and type and write their report. They don't have all that weight on them at a time. If a hot run comes out, they got to rush out to the police car. They throw the vest on. They can do it in 10 seconds, zip it, and out the door they go. So
what do they cost each?
Dan will have the specifics on that. The one thing I also add with these vests is we are seeing in recruiting 3 things that recruits, the questions they ask us the most, and they might surprise you, but they want to know if they can have tattoos, they want to know if they can have beards, and they want to know about carry vests, okay? The weight-bearing vests have a little bit more of a militaristic look. They're the same color and everything like that. You still have the patches. It's just that you see them on the arms. The young officers like the feel and the look of them. And again, the older officers that we have, the more experienced officers, and we've tried, we received some to use on a trial basis to see if the officers will like them. We had one of our female officers, Officer Caitlin King, wear one of our senior officers, Maples, and our third officer, Smitherman, our SRO, wear them. And the feedback was fantastic on by all 3. Go ahead, Assistant.
So as far as the cost, we have an individual cost of around $565 per officer. Now that includes actually 2 carriers. So the external vest, like the chief said, it's a carrier. That would be 2 per officer so that they can wash one and have one in use while the other one's being washed. And it also includes all of the attachments because everything that goes on the load-bearing vest has to be attached to it. So that, you know, your prep radio, your taser, everything that we're going to put on it to get the weight off of our hips, all those attachments have to be purchased as well. So
that's a phase in, or you'll change all 31 out at the same time?
Well, we'll probably phase them in as we're able to get them from our supplier. So like everything else, you know, there's a supply chain issue in the uniform industry as well. So as they come in, we'll put them into service.
Okay, so from a weight dynamic, when you have a backpack, when you're backpacking in the woods, you want the weight on your hips, not on your shoulder. But you're saying that the shoulders, seems like the shoulders would wear out versus when you carry a 40-pound backpack, you adjust it such that it sits on your hips versus all the load on your shoulders. So I'm trying to understand how it's working.
So I've been doing this for going on 23 years. Chief's been doing it longer than I have. I have back problems. And you know, there's a lot of information out there that load-bearing vests, you know, like the chief mentioned, are one of the better advancements to come out in terms of law enforcement equipment in the last several decades, as far as helping guys out with their back issues and whatnot. And another issue is all of this equipment is around your waist, and when you sit in your patrol car, you're sitting with stuff right in the middle of your back.
I was wondering about that.
It's terrible. So most.
Oh, yeah.
On the back. Yeah, most patrol cars, they kind of have a cavity built in the bottom of that seat to try and help with that. So if you're driving a detective bureau car or like an administrative vehicle, like I don't have that in my car. So when I get in my car, I'm sitting with my hind quarters scooched forward on the seat. fairly uncomfortable, so it'd help with that as well.
If your back is not right, your performance is poor.
100%.
It's absolutely critical.
So, and you've used these before? You have this, as much mobility as you do with?
Yes. Yeah, actually, you have a little bit more mobility because you're not, as my shirt is right now, I might have some restrictions. These come straight around the arms like this, just like a vest, like an old three-piece suit vest. And that's what would sit like that. They would have pockets like this. They look just like a shirt. You'd never know. The underneath shirt is a little bit lighter. It's got the patches on the side, so it would look about the same.
So you can reach and grab and swing without being interfered?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, everything is, your motion is.
Demonstrate on Kermit.
Yeah, they're in, and to your point, Chuck, too, the other thing is they found, the studies have shown that the shoulders being a bigger muscle can contain that weight better than the hips that push down into the legs, so. And there are studies, when I was at the University of Michigan, they did a complete study on it. It was probably 25 pages long. I read it, and it was basically, they pulled data from different studies, and they basically said that, yeah, we feel this is a better way of distributing the weight of all the equipment that we have to carry. These officers are constantly getting additional equipment added to their, what they have to carry around every day, so. All right.
Keep going.
Sorry, we'll get back.
Were you done on this
Had
page?
it, sorry. Replacement ballistic shield. Our shield currently, and what the ballistic shield is we have an S-car that's on the street every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it has a ballistic shield. It's an entry shield. If we have to go in the building, it will take the impact of rifle rounds in it. There's a port that you can see out of it. Officers would carry it like this and protect themselves if they had to make entry in, for example, an active shooter situation. The issue that we're having is ours is currently expired. So it's expired, which is concerning that if we have a situation.
So it's made out of Kevlar or
yeah,
carbon fiber?
Absolutely. And it'll contain a, like I said, it'll contain a rifle round.
Kevlar expires?
I'm sorry?
Kevlar expires?
5 years.
Yes.
Really?
So they're being overly cautious, but yeah, it degrades with,
yeah,
it oxidizes with time. All plastics do that. They degrade with time.
And then the last piece of this is the breaching tools. We found in law enforcement and active shooter situations at Virginia Tech where the suspects were on the doors. They went into the doors and locked the doors with chains. So and when the officers at first responded, weren't able to get into the building because they couldn't get through. Recommended they have breaching tools, as many cars out on the road as we can, so that if they're the first officer to respond, they can use those tools to get in and help somebody if needed.
What is this, a bolt cutter?
Breaching tools, it's got a Halligan on it, it's got a bolt cutter on it. There's a series of 5 different, there's a hammer that you can, force a door open if you had to. It would be no different than if our officers looked into a window and somebody was laying on the floor having some type of medical situation we had, again, it would give them the tools to get in there, so.
So how many cars do you have in service on each shift?
We have 5, so we have a sergeant and 4 officers on each shift. We're on 12-hour shifts, so 4 platoons.
Okay, I was just looking at the number required.
Yeah.
That's when there aren't too many vacations or sick people, right?
We're training, Chuck. Yes. All right. Next slide, please. All right, the 2024 dispatch jail budget combined. This was a slight increase on this. Again, wages and salaries, retirement, insurance, and operation. What we found in the jail too is coming out of COVID-19, our officers are making more arrests. We're getting more prisoners. We're having more situations where we have to get linens cleaned more and things like that. So we did have some increases there.
Do you have any income? Is anybody renting any space from our jail? Other municipalities?
No.
No.
No, not currently. And then to the purchases, the next slide, please. The backup radio system power supply, so basically they're similar to a car battery. We have 3 working dispatch stations. 2 of the 3, the batteries need to be replaced. And the second piece is a fax machine, which I know in a lot of businesses and things, fax machines are a thing of the past, but with Wayne County and some of the other areas that we work with, we have to still use a fax machine. So we have to have that in there. And our fax machine may be over 20 years old, so it's really old.
You use that, what, once a week?
No, we use it anytime we have prisoners and anytime we have to send them to Wayne County, so it's used daily.
They're still using fax. They can't take a picture or scan anything.
Wayne County.
Wow, she was here today. We didn't get to talk to her.
Yeah. All right.
Even our court does fax, doesn't do email.
Yeah. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. This is the the general funds, all 6 of our budgets. As you can see in 2023, the areas that this year we're recommending are used in the capital outlay were used with forfeiture dollars that we spent. Overall, between the 2 years, we're at an 8.34% increase. A majority at the police, the dispatch and jail were significantly low.
301 is $1 million.
It's another, yeah,
Another 900,000.
another 900.
20%, almost 20%, right?
Is that the one for the medical? There's one for medical.
Carol, you got any comments on that? That's a big jump. 20%, line 3, account 301, going from 5.4 to 6.3.
17% jump overall.
Yeah, that's I just guessed 20 because I can't do math in my head.
It's on the,
On the,
Yeah, I know I saw.
Well, about how much would be transferred from the set-aside fund that would end up in 301.
Medical and other insurances.
250, so that's the number you mentioned before, all right.
So Chief, this 17.7% medical and other EE insurances, why is that so much higher?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Which page, what number, what page are we on?
102.
That one is a little higher. I just got another report from Human Resources with the open enrollment, so I will be making some adjustments to that for the changes that the employees have made to their insurance, so that will be adjusted. So
Downward or upward?
I believe it's coming down, but I haven't gone through it thoroughly to see all the changes.
Our healthcare costs projected for next year are overall either down or stable. Very little, very modest increase.
I think medical was about 5%, dental was a little bit of a higher increase.
Yeah, but the dental is not as widely used. But as far as our healthcare costs, they're not, they're well, I would say they're probably about 4 or 5% increase, which is in line with,
I thought you said 5.
I'm said 4 to 5, so I mean, we're in the ballpark. But, and we are an 80-20 community, meaning that the employees pay 20% of their healthcare costs. Although we do have a very generous healthcare plan in the township.
so.
Thank you,
it's
Kara.
kind of the same questions, I guess, that, because of the increases, half of that are people-related costs.
Correct, yeah.
And we're fully staffed, right? We're assuming full staffing. We've also added the new school resource officer position, which created another position. And then we also have the lateral transfers as well. I don't think it's as high as fire, but it's certainly about 85 to 90,000, I think, in that range. Are the numbers look bad because we're not using the drug forfeiture money as much?
400,000.
I mean, I think that's a big chunk of that as well.
Capital about 350,000 different from last
year. And drug forfeiture goes up and down. I think we've got some promising leads in the future. Absolutely. In the next couple of years because of our relationship with Homeland Security, both based here in the township. But this is one of those years that we need to dip out of the sequestered fund for police.
I said that years ago where we were addicted to drugs.
Bob always says, you got to say it again this year. It's keep the streak going. But Bob always says we're addicted to drugs.
Drug forfeiture
money. Forfeiture fund.
Well, this FAIR Act applies to criminal and civil, or just criminal?
Probably criminal.
Forfeiture Act itself.
Yeah, it's criminal.
Civil process is part of the criminal, so.
Yeah.
Well, it would
crime committed in the first place.
That's how you
there
get
has to
it.
be
You
crime
gotta.
committed. It's a federal offense, so it's this would definitely impact the funding that we get from federal drug forfeiture, which is substantial. I mean, and it would there's always a movement underway to deal with forfeiture. You know.
Yeah, and I was involved when I worked with the DEA as a group supervisor for 10 years. And, what we always looked at is what are the drug traffickers using to facilitate the crime of dealing drugs? And what are the assets they were able to get from those facilitations? So those are the areas that we looked at. I think we sit in a good position with our officers both being in federal task force because these these cases that are working are really multi-defendants, high-level conspiracy cases where there is pages and pages and pages of justification on why we're taking assets. This isn't, I know, Chuck, you sent me the thing about the cars and Wayne County's dealing with.
Yeah, that federal,
we're not in that.
The federal ruling.
Yeah. And, whether it be prostitution or drugs, however they were doing the cars there, that's my opinion, that's their business. We weren't involved with that. The forfeitures that we're involved with are and that's why a lot of them are taking so long, because they are very high-level conspiracy cases, people that are going to be going to jail for a long time.
Okay, any other questions? And again, the police contracts are coming up at the end of this calendar year. We've begun negotiations with both of them right now. Dispatch contract is not up for another 2 years. So just to give you a heads up on that, because all unions right now are asking for a very impressive wage requests. And so that is going to...
You mean large percentage increases?
Yes, sir.
Starting with the UAW.
So, well, I don't have to worry about them, so neither do you.
Well, they're a pattern setter. You never know.
Yeah, well, we know what's going on with POAM and fire unions, so it's very dynamic in this time in history. Any other questions for the chiefs here?
Well,
I had a few more pages in my
all right,
presentation.
fine.
I'm sorry, but go ahead, Chuck.
Okay.
Need some water there, Chuck?
I can survive for now.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. Chuck, do you want me to, I don't know if you had a question or you want me to continue?
Yeah, continue, and then I'll do the question after.
These are planned community outreach events. These are community outreach events that we're adding to our cachet of community outreach. What to do when you stop by a police officer, teen driving program. This is a program we're going to partner with the school district, and this will give youngsters an opportunity and their parents to be involved with a mock traffic stop. So why am I being stopped? What are the police officers looking for when they're making a traffic stop? And what kind of information are the police officers going to ask for them during a traffic stop? So we think that would be good for our teen drivers. We're going to implement a Citizens Police Academy. This would be an opportunity for our citizens to come in and know more about what goes on in police work. Citizens Police Academy gives citizens an opportunity to do ride-alongs. It gives opportunity to see what detectives do, what our task force officers do. So that's very exciting. College student internship program. We've had several township residents that have approached us this year that are college students going into law enforcement. We feel this would be a good, also a good recruiting tool for us to find out what a great police department we have and to see if they want to be a part of it as they get through their academic programs. And then the last two planned outreach programs are Financial Institute Liaison Program. This is a program where we're going to work with the FBI, we're going to work with all of our local banks and credit unions and talk about safety. We're going to talk about what kind of camera systems they have, point of contacts, security directors at each of the facilities, and then also, again, as I mentioned, the liaison with the FBI. Hotel liaison program, this is a program that we're going to implement as well to have, so that all of our hotels in town have a point of contact if they see activity in the hotels, either prostitution, narcotics, anything illegal, that they can report directly and have that point of contact so that they can reach out. I've seen this program operate in other jurisdictions, and I think it would be very effective. Next slide, please.
How many hotels do we have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5? I'm just winging it, but.
I think 5, yeah.
5, yeah.
Red Roof, St. John's.
There's one over here, there's 1, 2.
I got those. Okay, 5. I think it's 5.
About
Hilton
5.
Gardens.
Where can I find this illegal activity?
That's for us to find out, Bob.
Oh, no.
So hopefully we find none, but if we have issues, we would have the managers would be trained with information, things to look out for, and also then how to report them, as opposed to them just contacting a police officer at the desk and saying, hey, I'm having a problem over here at this hotel. They would have a point of contact. They would have somebody that they're familiar with, that they know, that they could pass the information on, and then we can work on it. Next page, Bob, you got it? Okay, current community outreach program. These are the programs that we said a year ago that we were going to do, that we were going to implement. Some of you have been involved with these programs, and I think they've all been very effective. Start with Coffee with a Cop. Most agencies do 1 a year. We did 4 last year in all sections of town. I think that it was very effective to get out and speak with our citizens, speak with the kids, and see what's going on out in the community. The Senior Fraud and Exploitation Program. We've partnered with Bobby Pummel at our Welcome Center and our Friendship Center, and those have been very well received. We've had a lot of people at those. We've had, I think, 4 over the last year. We also gave a presentation at Our Lady of Good Counsel for a senior group. And again, with these programs we're building out, we look at our most vulnerable folks in the community. We look at seniors. We have other programs here with our SRO. We're going to focus on our children. We're really tailoring these very proactive programs for our most vulnerable population. Run, Hide, Fight, Active Assailant Training. This is an exciting training we rolled out to any business, house of worship in Plymouth Township. We offer this training free. It's about an hour to hour and 15 minutes. It's the same training that we held in this room for all of our employees here at Township Hall. We held it at the DPW yard. We were out at Adient about a month and a half ago, and I think we were close to 1,000 of their employees that we trained on Run, Hide, Fight. So we're really happy with that. First Responder Food Drive. That's an event we do each year where we collect food for those in need. Our Honor Guard is a joint operation with the city of Plymouth. I think most of you have seen them in action at the parades. They do an outstanding job. Tom Champagne leads that. In the First Step Giving Tree, we partnered and created an MOU that was approved by the board with First Step, our advocates for domestic violence, criminal sexual conduct. We reach out to them every year before Christmas. We ask them what they need. Our officers, we have the Giving Tree set up. Our officers, with their own money, will take things and donate the items to fulfill those needs. So we work with that. PCCS Mental Health Fair and Back to School Bash. We were at the Back to School Bash last week. It was about 95 degrees. I was out there. I think I lost about 10 pounds.
Where was it?
It was behind Salem High School. Not as many high school kids as I would have thought, but there was a lot of smaller kids, like elementary school kids.
It was rescheduled. They were going to have that on a Saturday, but that was the day of the storms that went through here.
Yeah.
So
Half a can was out of power, so it was pushed back. So,
and actually, they conferred with us, the 2 townships, about whether that project should even go forward that day, and we both recommended that they don't, just because of the power outages and street flooding and things like that.
Yeah, and then it was on the afternoon of the first day of school, the day after Labor Day, and like I said, they had a really great turnout. We had our tent there, our community outreach tent. We had our CIT team there, our crisis intervention team was there, talking to the kids. So that was really a great event. And the mental health fair is held in the spring. We were also part of that. We had our tent there, and that was held at Kellogg Park, and we partnered with the school district on that. Books and Badges is an event we're going to roll out. Joe Smitherman, our school resource officer, is going to implement that, and we are going to offer to every teacher in Plymouth Township of every school, if they want to have a police officer come and read to their class, then we're going to schedule that. Officer Smitherman's not going to do all of them, but I did a couple last year. Everybody, Dan will be doing them. We're all going to pitch in. So if we have a teacher that wants to have a student read to a class, I was at Isbister for a 4th grade class, and it was really fantastic. So we're gonna roll that out in March, because March is reading month. So we'll roll that out. And then the DA Take Back, we partner with Kroger's. Every year we have one of the take back stations here at the police department, Township Hall, and then we have one at Kroger's. Over the last 2 events, I think between 60 and 80 pounds of pills were turned in the arena of opioid and the opioid problem that we have. A lot of first-time users found opioids in their own house. They were prescription drugs that were either their grandparents or their moms or dads. So that's another really good event.
And if any of the teachers want to have a treasurer read to their kids, I would be happy to do that.
They always ask me about the supervisor.
Boring.
We can talk
All
about
right.
numbers.
So again, those are what we said we would accomplish, and I believe we accomplished them all. And again, I'm very proud of the men and women of our department, because these are on top of their normal day in and day out duties of policing. Next slide, please. You got it.
We got a question over here.
Budget needs for beyond 2024, patrol cars.
Chief John's got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I missed it.
Thank you for responding to any suggestion I have made to you. You have set a wonderful professional example. I have one more.
Sir.
You can't underestimate the impact of police presence. Driving a car through a densely populated subdivision like Lake Point. Yesterday morning, I made the mistake of driving from my home, and I had to be over at the 35th District Court by 9 o'clock. I went down Greenbrier in front of Farrand. I don't know if it's just the beginning of school. I don't know if it's a little cultural thing. Parents are not walking their kids to school as much as they used to. They're driving. There's a terrific backlog of cars on Greenbrier. It's horrendous between 8:15 and 8:45.
It's at every elementary school. You ought to see Andover Trail at West and Bird School. People are 1/3 of the vehicle is out in the lane. I mean, it's very dangerous, but you and I have talked about this too.
I was going to say.
I think it's a cultural thing too, that we can't let Johnny walk to school.
Yes, you're right.
And then all of a sudden you have to drive your Lincoln and take your elementary school kid to school. I mean, but I hear the most gratitude from my constituents. A car was driving through our neighborhood. So please and thank you.
Yes, sir. And to that point too, as you mentioned, Chuck, one of the, within the next 2 weeks, myself, the school resource officer, as well as Josh Meyer from the school district, are in a meeting with all of the administrators of all the schools. I have, Chuck, your comments about West on that I'm going to bring up to Principal Steckel at West. And I'll bring that up as far as Farron, so to see if we can evaluate if we are functioning at best practices. Just because they've done things for 30 years at a place, can we look at a different way? So.
Pioneer is a mess right now too, but that has a lot more to do with they haven't finished the construction yet. And I know they're trying. They have got somebody out there directing traffic. I'm hoping that once all that construction is done, that will alleviate. But to John's point, I just think that it's still a result of COVID, that people do not want, they don't want to put their kid on a bus because they're afraid of COVID. And, you know, it's just, it is a different world for all of us now. And I think that a lot of parents are just opting to drive.
Yeah, they can drive, but there is a solution to it if they drive, but they have to be flexible of where the pickup and drop-off point is, not in front of, everybody can't be in front of the school.
Right.
And we have a catwalk and things like that. So it's doable. The principal has to step up, and they gotta have somebody out there to get training.
And I'll mention too that the first day of school this year, rolling out our school resource officer, we had officers at every school, every elementary school, every middle school for the first day of school. Of course, a lot of parents were asking, what's going on? Is something wrong? But our officers were out there. The assistant chief was out there. I was out there. And our officers every week are assigned. We have 2-day shifts, 2 officers, and throughout the week, every single week, they go through their assigned schools. And as well as myself, I've been through 3 of the schools so far this school year, and that's my goal is to do 2 or 3.
You saying you walk through the hall?
Yes, walk through the hall. The police officers park in front of the building strategically so that folks driving by know there's a police car there. They walk through, say hi to the administrators, walk through the school, talk to the kids. We're not looking for, kids doing things bad. But if we see a door propped open, we might make a recommendation, things like that, But the feedback has been very positive. I was at West for the first day of school, and the kids there, the teachers were very happy to see us. So, back to budget needs, the patrol cars. The other issue we're dealing with the patrol cars is we are, it's very, Ford Motor has a backlog of the Explorers, and we've looked at some other options with Durangos, and the assistant chief drove one of them, and we just weren't happy with the performance. So we are looking at that. We also have the situation where 2 of our cars caught fire and burned. So we had to address that. We had to address that issue too.
Is that because of the upfitter?
Both of them.
Or was it OEM wiring?
Well,
because there could be recourse.
We have fully examined all of that.
Yeah.
So we got nothing, no settlement.
We may have, I think we got MMRMA insurance money, but it's not a case of going after the installer or anything like that.
When did the second one catch fire?
On 5 Mile. Officers were driving down 5 Mile on midnight shift, felt the seat was getting warm. I mean, both cases, our officers were driving the cars when flames were seen.
Wow.
Officer pulled off to the side of the road, went to the trunk, opened the trunk, and the trunk was full engulfed. So
When did that happen?
before,
About a year ago.
was it about,
About a
last
year ago.
fall?
Oh, I
Is that a
didn't.
total
I thought
loss?
there was only one.
Yes.
Both cars, yep.
Including.
And then how many have been destroyed in accidents over the last 2 years?
For less, I mean, it's been a while
Yeah.
since we had one destroyed in an accident.
I mean,
I would say over the last 2 or 3 years, we've probably lost 2.
Yeah.
I believe to accidents. We had
So one we did have-
One rear-ended Ann Arbor Road in Lilly.
Yeah.
And then we had another one rear-ended out on the freeway.
And then the traffic monitoring trailer has been destroyed as well.
Yep.
Struck by a drunk
Taken out
driver.
By a drunk driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to, we've already made that claim with
The speed
MMRMA. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
It's a good thing we bought 2.
Yeah. Yeah. it
Well,
was,
hopefully you got a claim for liability on their insurance.
Yeah, we're pursuing subrogation with the auto carrier for that individual.
And
We know who he is.
we got it on film because the gentleman who requested the speed trailer had a camera in front of his house and caught the whole thing. So, and he actually called us and was able to, our officers were able to find the individual parked in his driveway and slumped over the wheel. So, yeah, so he was arrested.
Okay, anything else, guys?
Just wrapping up, replacement of in-car camera system. And in line with that, I'll skip down one of the replacement of the body worn cameras because we are looking at systems that will integrate both. Replacement of the patrol car computers. Again, these are just end of life issues that we're going to have to address down the road. And then the HVAC system. I think you already talked about the HVAC system in this building, and it's we've had issues on the police side. I'm not sure that the system was put in was.
You mean the cold in the winter or the hot in the summer?
Both.
Because it used to be a cold problem.
That's both.
Both.
There was a cold problem in the jail cells.
That goes way back.
Every fix that we try does not fully solve the problem.
So we're gonna need a list of what you can live without, what you can cut. But think about it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. All right. What's, our next item is the number 3, the early voting location. We can pursue that right now, or we can take a brief break if that's your pleasure, or we can just push forward. All right, let's push forward. Okay, so Jerry, this is your item. This is the...
Yes, thank you very much, members of the board. As we all know, in the general election in 22, the voters overwhelmingly, over 60%, voted for early voting in the state of Michigan. And then subsequent to that, the legislature changed completely over. The Republicans have no power in the legislature, so it's completely owned by one. The entire apparatus of the state government is owned by a particular party. So they have passed numerous laws subsequent to that deal with early voting and voting in general. A lot of these laws are impacting how we do elections. This is not your grandfather's elections anymore. We have early voting. Currently, we have no place suitable to hold early voting. So we have 9 days of early voting before each election, and then a day off, and then election day. So we had to find a place that comports with the Constitution and comports with state law, which even requires it to be as centrally located as possible, this voting center. And so I knew for a fact that at the Risen Christ Church, they had a charter high school there for a number of years. And that charter school dissolved and left. And so they have a large section of their facility, which is a school. They have a gym and classrooms and cafeteria and stuff like that, that they are not using because of that. And because of the way it's set up, it is ideal for holding a precinct where all the people can come from all the different 12 precincts and come and vote. And so it became necessary for us to acquire this lease for a whole year, December to December, because we have several elections. Now, the first election is allegedly going to be in February if the legislature retires in time. If not, it's going to be March. The legislature is also talking about changing the August primary to either June or May. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's in discussion. And then we have the fall. So we have all this time period that we need to be able to have a facility in order to hold early voting. And so I contacted the pastor and his board, and they have agreed to lease this property to us at a rate that was less than they were getting from the high school and what they could get from anybody else. So it's imperative that we do this now. I have already had to submit to Wayne County a plan for early voting. I had to submit what I thought our costs were going to be. I had to do that on August the 5th, and then they had until August the 8th to send all that information from the different municipalities in Wayne County to the state. There are still ongoing issues that we have to allow for, but we'll have to deal with those as they come to us. But it's absolutely necessary that we have a place to hold these elections. Additionally, the law requires us to have another drop box other than the one we have here. And again, it has to be located someplace not close to here. So fortunately, Bob, could you pull up the map, the Google map of that church right there at the corner of McClumpha? On the west side of this church where the school was at, the parking lot comes off of McClumpha, and it already has a circular drive, and it makes it ideal for us to place a drop box there. And so we're going to put a drop box there at that location. If you see right here on the far left here, you're coming off of there, and you see that little island there, come down right there, the island there, people could come in, go around the circle, we'll have to put a pad in there and put a drop box in there, and.
What about a camera?
Again, I'm not done, yes, we have to install a camera there, we have to put a camera in the room where people are voting, and so we have to have internet that is secure, so we'll have to put our own server and have hardwired internet.
Why do you need internet?
Because
I thought Dominion machines are not connected to the internet.
this is not the Dominion machine, this is the computers. Because of the 9 days of voting, we have to have a live system that communicates with the qualified voter file in Lansing. Right now, the way we did it, on the day before the election at 4 o'clock, we downloaded all the information from the state. And then we put it on a thumb drive, and we gave it to our election people, and they plugged that into the computer, and so it was a dead system, but it had everybody's address and where they lived, what precinct they were in. That's a dead system. You have to have a live system now, because what if someone were to go here and vote and then go someplace else and vote? You need to have it connected to the internet in order to check with the qualified voter file, so that they get notified that they have voted. Otherwise, you could have people voting in multiple places. Now, it'd be against the law. This is not unlike how we handle absentee ballots. When you come in and get an absentee ballot or request an application, we put that into the qualified voter file, so we know that you have received or requested a ballot, and that way, if you went to go vote, it would show that you already have a ballot, you couldn't vote. So the system has to be live, and so I have to have people trained on the qualified voter file to run this equipment in order to assure that only one person gets one vote. And so not only do you have the expense of this location, but you have the expense of all the other stuff, the cameras, the internet, the box, we gotta put the pad in, we've got to buy new equipment. We can't use the same equipment for early voting that we use for the day election. We can't, the state law says I can't do it. So I have to buy 5 new tabulators, I have to buy 5 new computers. I have to buy new printers. And so this is going to be, so not only are you spending money for this, you're spending another $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on other things that you have to have in order to facilitate early voting. So this is one of those situations where, guess what, you have no choice. And so fortunately, we found a place that comports with the statutes and the.
Jerry, where's the other alternatives you looked at? I don't see any. I see only one alternative.
No, I went to
$50,000.
Well, yes, Chuck, we went to other places. Bob and I went and tried to talk with the people at another church. Yeah. I talked with other business people that have lease places. But again, it's got to be as centrally located as we can, and we need it now.
I think we should use Friendship Station.
That is a possibility. However, you have a smaller facility, you have limited parking. The second the people come there and start trying to vote and they can't get into the parking lot, you're going to have a problem.
And Friendship Station is used,
but
every day.
You can interrupt it for those 10 days.
I understand that, and I even thought of the Four Seasons facility at Township Park. Yeah. But again, you've got Little League going on that are paying money to be there.
Yeah, you can't interrupt them, but I think Friendship Station could be used.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's not centrally
located. We'd have more control over it.
It's got to be centrally located.
It's got to be centrally located.
It's pretty central. There's 800 houses over there.
It's on the east side.
It's on the east side, and it's on the other side of the railroad tracks. And so everybody has to go there. And so, Chuck, I understand what you're saying, but this has to happen. This is not anything other than required by the Constitution and the state law. And we were fortunate enough to have what happened with the high school leaving there that allowed us to have this, this position. And so we have no choice.
Proposed motion?
Any other questions? Mr. Stewart?
Move to adopt resolution number 2023-09-12-77, authorizing the supervisor to sign the option to lease space from Risen Christ Lutheran Church located at 46250 Ann Arbor Road, Plymouth, Michigan, for the purpose of holding early voting for the election of 2024.
Okay, motion's been made by trustee Stewart. Is there a second? Second. Second by treasurer Dorchevitz. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Kermy.
No.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen
Okay.
and ladies.
All righty, we're going to move on now. Jeremy Schroed is still here. I don't know why, but yes, he is still here. Thank you, Jeremy, for sticking around.
What are you doing here, Jeremy?
This is, we thought we lost him there for a while, but he blends in. This is the certification to MDOT that non-federal matching funds are secured, available, and committed for expenditure on the Ann Arbor Road Sidewalk Gap Project. Take it away.
So, a few months back, we submitted a grant application for the Ann Arbor Road Sidewalk Gap. That's from essentially Gold Arbor to General Drive on the north side of the road, goes underneath the railroad track. We've been working on that project for many years, but had originally identified some funding through DDA. We thought this project might be attractive from a grant funding perspective, so we submitted it through the TAP program, and we were awarded the grant. So essentially,
How much was that grant?
that grant, the total grant amount is $681,589.
Great work.
Yeah, of which the township's match is $136,318. So we have that entire amount already in the budget in the DDA. So this will save us the remainder, that 500,000+ in the budget.
So it goes on the north side, right? I have the
Yes.
picture up,
Yep.
right through that.
Goes on the goes on the north side, goes right in between that pier and abutment wall. So you'll see a large retaining wall, sidewalk coming in along it, and then most likely some sort of mini canopy system to, CSX wants us to protect against falling rocks and whatnot from the railroad track and falling concrete that,
Yeah. Is the sidewalk then going to be hooked up with what the owner of the self-storage facility is working on? Or does that connect up with what he's building, or?
are you talking on the south side of the road?
No, on the west side of the viaduct. You know, Mr. Eugene Sheridan?
Oh, I got it, yeah. So it will be eventually, because as you make it to the west side where it levels out a little bit, that there will be some sort of connection there.
Yeah,
Because this
okay.
goes all the way past that property to essentially General Drive.
Oh, this project goes all the way to General Drive?
Yeah, I mean, it's to
Or-
wherever the existing sidewalk connects up at, which
Okay.
is just east.
And as we could even see graphically in that photo, we still have drainage challenges there, and I just ask that you guys take that into consideration when this project is done, whether that's going to be French drains or riprap or whatever you guys recommend, but I still worry about the drainage down there, because in the wintertime, it's quite a hazard with frozen ice, and that's gonna make it harder for the pedestrians too.
So
Are
that,
the pumps working correctly there?
No, pumps are not working correctly, but there is actually a Wayne County project that was just awarded to make repairs to those pumps and to make repairs to the drainage in that area. This project's actually gonna follow that project. This
Good, we won't
project,
have a duplication of effort.
no, we're gonna tie into the catch basins after the fact. So this project is technically 2025 funding, meaning October of 2024 is when you can access the funding. We have to go through the MDOT system, so we've got to go through what we call like a 5323, like environmental reporting and things like that. So that's what we're in the process of right now, is getting through that process for design. But this resolution here is something that's required as a part of the grant. It's just certifying that, yes, we're going to pay for it. Yes,
We've got the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they gonna build a kind of a retaining wall along there? Because that's kind of a steep bank
Yes, yeah, there's gonna be probably anywhere from a 5 to 6 foot tall
Okay.
retaining wall.
The
along-
sidewalk goes into that, right there.
Correct. Yep, sidewalk goes on in between those two. It's about 8 feet in between the pier and the abutment wall. So more than enough for a 5 foot sidewalk.
Okay. All right, I would like to.
Want a motion?
Yeah, it's a little awkward here, so I move to approve Resolution 09-12-78, authorizing the certification to MDOT that non-federal matching funds are secured, available, and committed for expenditure on the Ann Arbor Road Sidewalk Gap Project, and to authorize Township Supervisor to sign the project agreement.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, Mr. Kermy seconded that, so Mr. Clerk, take the roll.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes, motion carries.
Okay. We have more public comment. 3 minutes.
We'll try to make this non-contentious. Just for kind of my first time with going through budget stuff. When I worked with industry, we always got 3 quotes, competitive quotes, and we did try to take the lowest quotes. I know we're looking at a lot of equipment and buildings and so on. Do we do that with the township?
We have a purchasing policy that we follow. We can get you a copy of that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
We have a purchasing policy, and we can get you a copy of that if you'd like it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, freedom of information. I believe, Jerry, that is your responsibility as a clerk.
That is correct. I'm not only the clerk, I am the administrator of the.
Okay, and that is in your job description?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand why we're charged in your salary or hourly. I don't know how that works. Are you a salary person?
The way you do it is, the state law says that you have to charge the lowest rate that, of the person who is capable of doing the work, plus, so you get their hourly, plus 50% of their benefits.
Okay. I just want you to know it's a lot different from business, because I know when my boss would come to me and say, you know what, I got a whole lot of extra work for you to do, you just suck it up. I don't charge them more because I would never be able to, so I'm
Well,
just trying to understand.
the public also doesn't have access to private business records either, so that's why we're public and we're not a business.
Whatever, okay, I was just trying to
It's a pretty big
understand why I'd
distinction,
be
sir.
charged more.
State law allows us to charge when the request is extensive, because it does take time and effort away from people who are doing that work. So we had to have the IT person run the program, and then I have to review it, and then I'm going to have to take certain things to the attorney that we're not charging for. So we're just charging my wage, because I'm the only person that can look at this stuff. That's the lowest wage. I don't take the health insurance, so that's not included in the. It would be more if I was taking the health insurance. It'd be like $70 an hour. So
To add to that, Jerry, if government didn't charge, there are people out there that would just bury the government.
Bury the government.
With endless FOIAs.
And right now, as I was saying earlier, when I was talking about all the stuff we had to do for the elections, I'm the person who's in charge of all that. And I have been working hours and hours working on that, along with taking in all of these of FOIA requests. And we do our best to do it efficiently. And if we can answer the question, as Bob said, if it's real simple. Matter of fact, Dwayne Zantop had one where there was no such record. So I said, there's no such record. It was answered the next day, so depending on what the thing is, when you take 215 hours to review something, and then not even counting the attorney's time, when I go to the attorney and say, okay, I believe this is attorney-client privilege, do you agree? Yes. Okay, so we're not even charging for that. So we're trying to be as fair as we can be, at the same time being fair to the entity that the taxpayers are paying money for.
I think we have something to learn about that, so I kind of take responsibility for that too, okay? Just so I understand, each one of those requests, though, are a separate $13,000.
No, we didn't view it that way. I thought it was a beautiful scheme. I really liked it, you know, but this is really the same information over a year and a half time. So the way we view it is that this is really one large request, but it was a beautiful scheme. I thought it was very cute, you know, in order to circumvent the charge, but you still have to do all that work.
So the kind of the whole, all of those requests, the total of those are 13,000. That's what I'm.
Right, all of them are 13,000. No, she
Not
thought.
13 times 20.
But
Not
not
13 times
individually.
20. She just misunderstood but the document that you got said, you know, that because of all these together, that's why it's being put together. Because it's really wanting the same information over a period of time. And so,
So Jerry, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought what you said was there was over 6,000.
6,400.
Or potential.
Or potential ones, yeah.
That all have to be reviewed individually, and you allocated what, maybe 2 minutes each?
2 minutes.
You know, to review each one.
That may or may not be enough
Right.
time, you know.
I mean, is that, you know,
Okay, just as long as I understand that the whole shooting match is $13,000.
Yes.
Not individually, each one of
No,
those.
no.
Okay, thank you for that. And just one other quick thing, the 5-mile upgrade going out to Napier, that number, I believe, was close to $25 million, and we think we get 10 million from the state. If I'm not mistaken, that number was developed probably in 2018. I'd have to think that 25 million has increased probably quite a bit.
No, it's actually gone down quite a bit. So, and I know that you and I have both been talking to the reporter from the Epic Times newspaper. So, when the MITC was first conceived back in 2010, 2011 timeframe, we really didn't have a number, but we did our research and tried to extrapolate what we were looking for in terms of what it would cost to fix and rebuild 5 Mile Road and also the necessary water and sewer improvements. So in 2018, when the MITC was created, and remember that was a 3-way agreement between the 2 townships and the state of Michigan, our ask at that time was $30 million. And the land bank at that time was everything was under the control of the Snyder administration. Snyder administration was very supportive of MITC, and they were telling us at that time that they were going to provide the $30 million that we were asking for to rebuild 5 Mile Road. I also, again, want to make it clear that that money does not come to the townships. It does not come to the MITC. It goes to Wayne County. Wayne County owns all the roads. They have to pay for it. They have to fix it. So fast forward to today, since that number, that $30 million number has now was reduced to roughly 25 million, and that's an approximation, of which 20 million is the road itself. So we got $10 million recently from the state of Michigan. That money will be available after October 1st, because that's when the state budget kicks in. And then the remainder of the money will frankly be provided by Wayne County, because again, they own the road and they know that the goal is to totally rebuild 5 Mile between Napier and Beck. And so we're already in discussions with Wayne County. They're very supportive as well. They want to fix the road. And, frankly, at this point, they have to find the money within their budget to do this. And they get Act 51 money from the state. We don't. They got a lot more ARPA money than we did, probably a couple $100 million of ARPA money. And so they've got the wherewithal to do this.
And that includes then Ridge Road also? We're not expanding it, but we're making it beefier.
Yeah, so Ridge Road, we received about $2.5 million already from the federal government to improve Ridge Road. And a lot of that's going to happen in Northville, because if you go north of 5 Mile, Ridge Road is a lot of dirt road up in that area. Right. Northville Township has authorized the construction of 72 condominium units, townhouses, right off of Ridge Road.
I thought it was 98.
I believe it's 72 last time I checked. Ridge and 5 and Ridge. Oh, wow. So that's going to be right down the street from...
Right downwind of the dump.
Right down the street, up north of 5 Mile Road. So... And one of the reasons we were able to save money on the project was like that housing unit, those housing units, and then we have other projects going into on the Northville side. So from Napier to Ridge, you're going to have Northville Lumber, which is 100,000 square foot retail with 12 acres of outdoor storage. Next to that, you're going to have Verita. Verita was originally going to settle in Plymouth Township, but they're growing like crazy, and the owner is acquiring a lot of his competition. It's competition.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. We talk about that a lot nowadays. And so the owner has exceeded his expectations. So now he's settling across the street now on the Northville side. There's going to be a retention pond between Northville Lumber and Verita. Verita is a company that installs fiber optics, both above and below ground. So there's a huge need for that right now. And he's hiring like crazy, and he's going to occupy another big chunk of land on the Northville side. And then you're going to have the housing development. So we were able to hook in the sewer system on the Northville side to existing sewers that are already on the Northville side, that already service the residential area, which is even further north on Ridge Road. That was a big money saver. And we also had to examine.
Done already?
Pardon me?
It's done, or it's going to be?
It's going to be done, yeah. And so the other thing is that we've examined the needs, the anticipated sewer needs of the two projects that are tentatively slated for our side. That would be the racetrack, and that would be the Jones development, which is the large warehouse facility that's looking to go in at Napier and 5. So that's a very low impact. You're not going to have a lot of sewer needs, okay, to put it mildly. Right now, the ask probably in the 2020 timeframe was about $25 million. The state has provided 10, so now we're down to 15. And I think the county will cover the rest of the 10, and then the rest will be the water and sewer improvements that are needed. So, okay. And that's a really good thing for us, because the more money we get from the outside, like the county and the state, then that's the less money that we need from the tax capture, from the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. And then that money, we can throttle that tax capture up and down. So if we get all this, if we get the money that we need to do the road, we don't need to use the tax capture as much. So that number can be throttled down, and that money then goes, more of that money goes directly to the township, so.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, appreciate it.
Yes.
Do you need my name?
All right.
Hi.
Now, we're not going to give you 13 minutes like we just gave this guy. Okay.
Marilyn Berteras, supporter of the racetrack, and I just want to make a couple comments related to the comments that were provided by the opposition. I want to emphasize the racetrack is an entertainment facility. If you go there on any Friday or Saturday night, especially during the summer, out on the apron, it's all families with kids. And even on days when there's no live racing, if it's just simulcasting, it's still entertainment facility with gambling included. Bars and restaurants have Keno, similar thing. The lady who talked about the racing law of 1995, it includes the Ag Equine Industry Development Fund, which provides money for horse racing, also for county fairs. I know Plymouth Township doesn't have a county fair, but a lot of counties in Michigan do, and they appreciate the money that comes from the Ag Equine Industry Development Fund. And I've been in the horse business all my life. We wish we had legislators that were as supportive of horse racing as the one lady seems to think that they are. Mr. Stewart talked about the Michigan Gaming Control Board. Up until the Granholm administration, horse racing was under Michigan Department of Ag. Under the Granholm administration, we got moved under gaming control, which was probably one of the worst things that happened to the horse racing industry. Their main concern are the 27 casinos in our state, and the casinos would like for horse racing to completely be eliminated. And as far as only 54 live racing dates, that is because of limited purse money is why we only have 54 live racing dates. We're hoping that with a new facility, we can grow the industry and increase our racing dates. Soccer fields, the guy who talked about the soccer fields, there were soccer fields at current Northfield Downs until, I don't know how many, I don't remember how many years ago, it was quite a few years ago, and I don't know why they left. But at one of the planning commission meetings, the head of the Plymouth Soccer League testified that they were very supportive of having those soccer fields in the infield of the racetrack. So I think that was all my comments.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Alrighty, then we're going to move on to board comments, and we'll start with Trustee Monahan.
I have nothing to say other than thank you for coming again, expressing your opinion in a very nice and genial way. We should respect each other's opinions, and I just I think that when we come together, we can solve most problems. Okay, and so thank you for coming out tonight.
All right, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you for the privilege of letting me serve as your trustee. For the chief and Nitel and Kudra, moral, physical, mental, and emotional respect in my 39 years of living in this township has never been higher for police administration in Plymouth Township. And I'm saying maybe not a politically correct word, but I want to thank you for your example of your morals, your physical, mental, and emotional stability and health throughout the community. You're well known. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Buckley.
Just briefly, September 27th is the first Veterans Commission meeting. We were contacted by Melanie, a veterans advocate for Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. She's very, very interested in meeting our new commission. This will be our initial meeting. So I extended an invitation also to Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. We're looking to hear back on that, but looking forward to getting off the ground and talking about what we're going to do, how to help the veterans.
I did see that the Community Foundation of, it's really the Canton Community Foundation, but they wear a lot of hats. I believe they're having their annual big Veterans Resource Fair coming up pretty soon, so we'll talk about that offline. Maybe we can send some people over there. Treasurer Dorshevitz, are we all set? I'm sorry, Jen.
Yeah,
you
that's it.
Okay. 2 more days to pay your taxes. So we have about 90%, which is pretty normal. So we'll probably get 1,000 in the next 2 days. So tomorrow and Thursday are going to be long days.
Are we still on, what's our pattern right now? Are we consistent with past years?
It's a little bit behind last year. Not significantly, but there's a couple of big ones that are still out there.
Okay.
Bob, where do you send the money for the non-PRE 18 mills? Where does that go? Where do you send the check to? The state?
It goes to Wayne County, and Wayne County sends it to the state.
Oh, you send it to Wayne County and then they send it to the state?
Yeah.
And what do you do with the 6 mills?
That goes to Wayne County as well.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So we don't get any extra benefit because we have a lot of 18 mil non-PREs?
No.
Subsidizes the people up north.
Yeah, I guess. That's beyond my purview.
All set? Okay, Mr. Kermy.
It's time for us to have a work session on community benefit. I don't want it to be negotiated just without direct input from the board. So we need to get together and talk about that. I hope we don't ever need it, but if we do, it better be a good one.
Well, I mean, I've been submitting, as you all know, I've been submitting attorney-client privilege documents to all of you over the last couple of weeks, so.
Why does it have to be attorney-client privilege?
Because it's negotiations.
Negotiations with Cox.
Well, with two
And Carlo.
attorneys, several attorneys, I mean,
right.
me, Kevin, Cox, and then the other guy from New York, so, I mean, it's not fair to them. We would never do this with any of the other PUDs that we've done here over the last 7 years. I mean, you're talking about.
I'm talking about the community benefit.
No,
PUD.
yeah, well, they're tie-barred, so I mean, they're interrelated, so.
My article was printed in the Detroit Free Press, calling the community benefit illusory. I would be more than happy to give you my copy.
Which issue did it come out in?
It was in the Observer and then the Free Press reran.
Last week?
Right here.
A couple weeks ago. Okay, this.
All right, yeah, I'd like to see.
All right, so, yeah, Chuck. Anything else?
So that's important. I think we need to give input to you directly. Email is too loose.
You can do that, you know you can do that right now.
I know, but I mean.
You
we need
stop
to
by
have-
the office a lot and.
We need
can
to have
Well,
some interaction.
I'm very concerned that would be a denial of due process and equal protection for the applicant, so,
What?
yeah.
It's our community development, our community
It's-
benefit.
Yeah, but it's a negotiated contract. I mean, we don't negotiate labor contracts in public either. We do that.
Well, I didn't say in
behind closed
public, you can do it in closed session, but
Well, that, I don't know. That will require Mr. Bennett's opinion, but I'm not looking for that right now. Okay?
you're not?
I'm not looking for his opinion right now, no. I don't want to put him on the spot.
Oh,
I know what the exceptions are to the Open Meetings Act, and I think this would be a very thin one, so. Okay, anything else?
no.
Okay. Get well soon too, Chuck, man. You've been hacking it up all night here. Hope you don't have COVID or anything.
Me too.
So it's.
Cooties
What?
on me.
So it's Jerry's turn.
My turn.
You talked so much earlier.
I know, but I enjoy being verbose. You know, all of us up here are mature people. A couple of us are very mature. I think Stuart and I are over the 70-year mark a little bit. And many of us have, varied and vast experiences. You heard a little bit today that I had some different kind of experiences when I was a police officer here in Plymouth and Plymouth Township. I was a police officer before the township even had a police department. The township contracted with the city in order to provide police service to the township. So I had some different experiences where I had to deal with drunk drivers, terrible accidents, rapes, child abuse, spousal abuse, all kinds of terrible things. Sometimes when you're a police officer, you see the underbelly of society, and it's sometimes not very pretty. But so I have a unique experience, and so I do have a real sincere feeling for the concerns that the people have brought before us. I don't take any of those things lightly. I understand them very well, and I'm glad that you're talking about it. The other people here are mature people, and they've had varied experiences. I'm sure many of them have had friends that have been injured in car accidents or by drunk drivers or other things that are bad have happened to them and their family. So they're keenly aware. All of us, I think, are keenly aware of the trials and tribulations that come before people and how they feel about certain issues. We don't take that lightly. People come up here and sometimes insinuate or slander us. So we have to take it. We're public officials, so you can say anything you want to us, and you're free to do so. Or because we're public officials, we have to kind of take it, okay? That doesn't mean that we, as individuals and as citizens of the United States, give up our fundamental rights to free speech or anything else. And so I've exercised those, I will continue to exercise those, and I have a right to do so. And if you have a problem with it, you can come and talk to me personally, or you can come to this meeting and talk to me about it. But really, everybody here is genuinely concerned about any issue that comes before the board. And I think I'm speaking for everyone, and thank you again for this evening.
All righty, thank you very much. We're looking at the September 26th agenda, and that will be the budget, the general fund budget. with a heavy emphasis on elections. We'll be approving our contract for the school resource officer with the Plymouth Canton Community Schools. They require a letter of understanding with us for that service. We talked earlier about the HVA contract extension. We'll have a discussion about the recreation plan discussion, and then because we just don't have enough to do, we are going to consider the request for the provisional rezoning of the so-called Spars Greenhouse site. So the Spars Greenhouse site is at the corner of Lily and Joy. That's the northwest corner where Spars Greenhouse is currently. The owners, the property owners, have acquired the Spars site as well as several of the houses along Lily Road. They did come before the Planning Commission a few months ago. They were denied by the Planning Commission for the provisional rezoning. So they do have the right to come to the board, and so that's what they've decided to do. They are coming with revised plans, which I've seen some of the preliminary plans right now, the revised plans, but we will ask that they provide better plans than what I've seen so far. They're asked.
Go back to the Planning Commission with those plans?
Well, no, they're coming to us because we've frankly, you know, they could come back to us with the same old plans, and they may end up with a similar fate, you know, a denial. So we've asked them to come back with revised plans. I believe I was not at the Planning Commission meeting, but I think they may have made that offer there as well. So their request was for provisional rezoning, subject to a final PUD, which would then have to go back to the Planning Commission and us, and all the hoops that they have to jump through on that. So,
the latest rage throughout everywhere. People are
well, Plymouth Township has been using PUDs since the 1980s, and I think by last count we were at 35 or something like that. Yeah. Well, you know, we've the past practice over the last 40 years would certainly favors the developer because of past practice, and that would subject us to more litigation.
So
if we're,
once again,
back off on that.
In terms of process, it was denied by the Planning Commission, so they can come to the Board of Trustees.
Yeah.
And
It's like an appeal.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, they have the right to do that. And we've done that before. We've had issues come from the Planning Commission that have been denied, and we've effectively overruled them. So they do serve at our behest. They are our eyes and ears, and we don't have to necessarily agree with them. We can overturn their decisions if we want to.
Right, but
So
did you say that they were going to be modified?
these are modified plans, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the same. It's not like they're moving from, you know, condos to single-family homes, or, I mean, this is still an apartment. These are still apartments, and the Spars Greenhouse and the retail. So, I mean, it's
a change in configuration.
It's a change in configuration, but it's not like it's not like we're going from single-family residences to you know, 5 restaurants or something like that. You know, I mean, it's a modification of their application.
But they never really had a plan in step one.
Yeah,
It's
well,
kind of
then
a
we'll see if
map.
we'll have to decide if they have one now. So, but again, they do own the property, and they are entitled to due process.
Okay.
So a couple other things tonight with respect to the budget. I do want to point out we've been criticized here tonight about transparency. I take that very personally because I was here. I've lived in Plymouth Township for 17 years, and I followed this board very closely while I was a state representative, and there was very little transparency by this former administration. And just a couple examples. Our meeting notices. We publish our meeting notices Friday morning, typically between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. That gives folks 5 days to know what's going to be on the agenda and to prepare accordingly. It wasn't always that way. I remember sitting at home on Sunday nights at, you know, midnight waiting for the agenda to come through, or a Monday night. So we are far more transparent than the Shannon Price, Ron Edwards administration ever was. I'll throw Nancy Councilman in there too, if you're watching. Another element of transparency is our budget process. I remember when budgets were thrust upon this board on a Saturday morning by Ron Edwards, who just dumped the budget in front of you guys and basically said, approve it because we have to have it done within the next several hours. We have to have it done before the end of the calendar year. Our lack of transparency and preparation on budgets got us in trouble with the state of Michigan, and we were in jeopardy of losing state funds back in 2015. So I would say that we are far more transparent than we used to be. Police and fire budgets are among the most important services that local government provides anywhere. We are certainly not defunding our police like we see in other communities in Wayne County. We are writing tickets, we're on the road, we are being visible, and we're seeing the results of that. And so if we want safe streets and safe homes, we have to make sure that we hire and retain good people who can do that. And then one more thing, a couple more things. I am still trying to find out where I was on TV on Channel 7 in December of last year. If you Google me, I was doing that tonight. I can't find anything. I've been on Channel 7, I think during the summer.
You were on in the fall, and I will swear to that. I saw it myself.
I was on TV.
Don't get into this denial.
I was on TV back in the summer. I was on Channel 4 in January or February of this year, and I was out there at the racetrack site. So I can't find anything, and believe me, if you can find something, I'll be happy to see
be a
that.
deadline.
But you know, when you put that into a
Publish or
letter
perish.
on your law firm letterhead,
Publish or perish.
on your law firm letterhead, and share that with people who
Absolutely.
believe it, that's really
You
disingenuous.
go on TV,
So
don't deny it.
You're very disingenuous, sir. Finally, the petitions, it's been 3 weeks, we haven't seen them yet. I think it's,
You have no right to demand that.
I think when people sign petitions, they expect that their First Amendment rights are going to be honored. People have a right to petition government for the redress of grievances. People sign a petition, whether that's online, in person, or on a piece of paper. I think it's the expectation that those individuals are going to have their name, their representation made to a governmental unit. So that still has not happened yet, and Mr. Bernhardt, you seem to be the leader of this movement, so if, at some point, I'd be happy to sit down with you so we could go over those petitions, and so that we could see those. I think we have a right to see those, and I think several of us up here have said that more than once. To not do that, to not share those,
So attack citizens.
to not share the petitions that people are being encouraged to sign, again, is a lack of transparency, which we've been accused of here tonight, and it goes both ways. With that, I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Stewart, motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Okay.
Have a good one.